Okay. Good evening, everybody. It is 5:30 on October 23rd, 2025. I am going to call this meeting of the Zoning Commission to order since we do not have any elected officials yet. I will ask everybody to stand and face the flag and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, and we'll have a roll call starting here with Mr. Mock.
Here. Commissioner Blazer, present.
Commissioner Polson, present.
Commissioner Johnson, present.
All right, we do indeed have a quorum. So the first action item here is to swear in our two new commissioners, Commissioner Mock and Commissioner Johnson. If you both would stand up and repeat after. Yep, raise your right hand, please.
All right. I state your name.
I, Joe Mock,
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
will support the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of the State of Idaho,
the Constitution of the State of Idaho.
that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the Zoning Commissioner
I will faithfully discharge the duties of the zoning commissioner
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you can sign those, and new commissioners, if you could sign those too as well and give those back to us, that'd be great. Okay, next item on the agenda is election of the new officers. So with the zoning commission, there are two officers. There's a chair and a vice chair. So I will turn it over to the commission to bring forth elections. Or nominations, excuse me.
I'll nominate Commissioner Polson.
Thanks for that.
Is there a second to the nomination?
I will second it.
All right. We have a roll call vote starting with Mr. Mock.
Yes.
Mr. Blazer, aye.
I abstain.
Sure.
Mr. Polson, I'll abstain.
Commissioner Johnson, aye.
All right. Welcome, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, please feel free to ask for any nominations for a vice chair.
We also have a nomination for vice chair. Can I make a nomination?
Sure.
I nominate Commissioner Blazer.
Thanks for that.
Do we have a second?
Second.
And we'll vote starting from my right.
Commissioner Mock, yes.
Commissioner Blazer, yes.
Commissioner Polson, yes.
Commissioner Johnson, yes.
All right. We have elected new officers.
Motion carries.
All right. I will hand over my agenda to my chair. And we're starting.
Does he get the gavel? Because that's the official part.
I don't know if we have the gavel present this evening.
I don't know if that really works.
Pound your fist.
I don't know if I can do this then. So we are.
Oh, now we're good.
That.
Call this meeting to order.
This meeting's called to order. Okay, bear with me as I learn how to do this on the fly. This is a public hearing of the Bonner County Zoning Commission. Do we need to do all this intro stuff?
We need
Or
to
can we
finish
just-
the first
we gotta
two,
finish the first
and
two.
then we can go ahead and get into that.
Gotcha. Changes in agenda and approval of minutes.
I have no changes to the agenda.
Okay. Commissioners, any changes to the agenda for this hearing?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve? Oh, no, we don't need to approve because there's no changes, correct?
If there's no changes to the minutes, if the commission has had the chance to review the minutes, and they have no changes, then they can be approved under the consent agenda.
Okay, so,
I would call for that.
the mission, okay.
Minutes are approved.
Does any commissioner or staff member care to correct the minutes from our previous meeting?
Do not. Did all the commissioners have a chance to look over them? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, then the minutes are approved under the consent agenda. Is that a gavel strike? Okay, all right. I don't want to overuse the gavel. Okay, so we'll now move to the file hearing portion of our meetings. I'll introduce the process. The persons to my left and right and I are the county zoning commissioners. We're volunteers. We serve on this commission because we live in Bonner County, work in Bonner County, have friends and family here. We love Bonner County. Our job is to objectively review zoning and land use applications. We are not employees of the county. We are not politically elected. We are not paid for this service. We review these applications as best we can with support from the professionals in the planning department and other county and state agendas. The zoning commission are a quasi-judicial body, meaning we don't make the rules. We simply follow the rules. This is in contrast to the planning commission, which is a separate group who are quasi-legislative, meaning they make many of the rules that we follow here. The people on my right at the rostrum are staff members of the Bonner County Planning Department. They're employees of the county, subject matter experts in the areas of zoning, planning, permitting. They spend countless hours helping professionals and DIYers properly plan projects affecting land use. They act as filters, ensuring that what comes before this commission is well prepared, and there are many applications and requests that never make it to these hearings because the proposals are simply incompatible with county code. The public are also present tonight. The commission solicits public testimony that helps the commission learn about facts relevant to these files, facts that may not have been known to the applicant, the representative, or planning department staff. We accept public testimony in written form before these hearings. We appreciate that and encourage it because we have more time to review those before the hearings. So we have 3 files to review tonight. One for, actually all 3 for zone changes. One from rural 10 to rural 5, one from suburban to commercial, and one from rural 10 to recreation. The procedure for hearing a file is as follows. Staff will present the staff report from the rostrum on the right. The applicant and or their representative presents an overview of the project from the rostrum. The commission may ask questions of staff and the applicant, normally at the end of their presentations. At that point, the commission opens the hearing for public testimony, and I'll explain the rules for public testimony at that time. The applicant and staff have an opportunity to rebut new information presented in public testimony, and finally the commission will close public testimony, deliberate, and perhaps vote. So our first file tonight is ZC 0011-25 Smith, rural 10 to rural 5. So.
All right, good evening, Commissioners. Kyle Snyder, Bonner County Planning Staff for the record. I will be presenting to you ZC 0011-25, which is a zone change request from rural 10 to rural 5. Quick project summary. The applicant, again, is requesting a zone change from rural 10 to rural 5 on a 10-acre parcel. The project is located off Lazy Spade Lane in Section 18, Township 54 North, Range 2 West. The current comprehensive plan designation is rural residential 5 to 10 acres. And the request was evaluated against the standards for rural 10 and rural 5. On the screen there are the code sections this project was reviewed against. Quick background, so the property is currently undeveloped and it is unplatted. The size again is 10 acres. The current zoning is rural 10 and that the land use designation there. Again, the lot is accessed from Lazy Spade Lane, which is a privately owned and privately maintained easement. Some environmental factors on the site. So the site does contain some map slopes of 0 to 30%. As you can see in that GIS image. I don't know if you guys can read that, but the legend does provide a greater breakdown of what those colors are associated with as in regards to slope. The site does not contain any mapped wetlands nor any frontage on a mapped body of water. And the site is entirely within SFHA Zone X. As far as your services, there's an individual well and then future plans for individual septic system on the lot. It is within Sagal Fire District's zone and power supplied by Northern Lights, and it's within Lake Pend Oreille School District number 84. So the full list of agencies routed can be found in Appendix A of the staff report. We did receive comments from IDWR, and the following agencies replied no comment. That was TC Energy, Kootenai Pend Oreille Sewer District, and DEQ. And as of the date the staff report was prepared, the planning department has received public comments. So on the screen here are your standards for an R10 zone. So R10 are in areas designated as rural residential in the comp plan that meet one or more of the following criteria. And that's your characterized by slopes that are steeper than 30%, located within a critical wildlife habitat, contains prime ag soils, serviced by a network of public and or private roadways that generally do not meet the applicable roadway standards set forth in Title II or Appendix A. Located within a floodway, and finally contains limited access to public services. As far as your rural 5 zones, they're designated in areas designated rural residential that are already developed at or near the 1 dwelling unit per 5 acre density or do not meet the criteria for R10. So here's another quick side-by-side of your R10 and your R5. I'm getting to this project or this parcel specifically. Your first one being characterized by slopes steeper than 30%. So staff's analysis, the subject lot does not appear to be characterized by slopes steeper than 30% as shown in the GIS image to your right. The only slopes that are steeper than 30% are located in the southeastern corner of the subject parcel. And according to the land use portion of the comp plan, for density ranges, properties that are level to moderately sloped are appropriately sized to be 5 to 10 acres. No critical wildlife area was determined by any public agency. Additionally, the GIS image or our GIS data does not show any critical wildlife habitat area. As far as your prime ag soils, this parcel contains 2 types of soils. You have your Dufert silt loam and your treble rock outcrop. Neither are considered prime farmland per the Bonner County Comprehensive Plan. So access to the site is currently provided by Lazy Spade Lane, which again is a privately owned and privately maintained easement. That connects to Granite Springs Road, which is another privately owned and privately maintained easement, which further connects you to Sunset Road, which is a Bonner County owned and maintained public right-of-way. Subject parcel is not located within a mapped floodway per the firm panel shown. And as far as your services, the subject parcel has access to public services, which include Sagal Fire District, Bonner County EMS and Sheriff, and Northern Lights. For your rural 5 characteristics, so developed at or near the 1 dwelling unit per 5 acres. So within 1,200 feet of the subject property, there are 16 individual parcels or lots. It appears that approximately 6 of the properties in this area are developed at the 1 dwelling unit per 5 acres. There's a table up in the top right that is a greater breakdown of those properties specifically. And the closest rural 5 zoning district actually borders the property to the south. And or does not meet the criteria for R10. So again, the subject property does not appear to be characterized by steep slopes of 30% or greater. It does not have any identified critical wildlife habitat. It is not within a mapped floodway. It does have access to public services and is served by a network of public and private roads. Additionally, there are no prime farmlands located on the subject property. Any questions for me?
So there are slopes greater than 30% on this property.
That's correct.
How does that square with Bonner County 12323 BA?
Specifically where? What do you?
Right here, where it's characterized by slopes that are steeper than 30%.
Commissioner, that's up to you to determine if this property is characterized by slopes steeper than 30%.
That's one of the characters of the property.
Okay.
Any other questions for staff? Okay. I neglected to ask before this, does any commissioner have any ex parte communication or conflict of interest to disclose regarding this application?
No.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, staff. Does the applicant or their representative care to present?
My name is Jeffrey Smith.
Or I guess the microphone there, whatever your,
Whatever you prefer.
let's keep it official, I guess, over
Okay,
there.
all right, thank you. Well, congratulations all on your new positions.
My name is Jeffrey Smith. My wife's joined me today. We have made this request. We purchased this 10 acres in the hopes that we could split it in two and our daughter and her family could move in near us. We own the property that is just to the south, and ultimately, if you look at property with that, this 10 acres in subject, and then the 10 acres next to it, we own the 5, and another neighbor there owns 5. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the map, but there's kind of a strange little 7 there. And the goal would be ultimately to take this total 20 acres, 15 that we currently own, and the neighbor's 5, do a lot line adjustment, and ultimately, when we split this 5, sell 5 of it to my daughter and her family, and absorb the remaining 5 of this parcel onto my parcel, and do a lot line adjustment to smooth that out with the Squires family that owns the other 5, if that makes any sense. Any chance that that generates a question or two? None? Okay. But ultimately, we'd like to get our family up there next to us. We have an autistic grandson. He needs our help. That's what we'd like to do.
I did have one question as
Yeah.
regards to the idea of how to split the lot. How would the access, would that be an easement through the middle? How would the access look?
Yeah, so Lazy Spade kind of goes down along, I guess would be the west side of the property line. And so if we were to sell the furthest 5 after this split, or the 5 furthest to the north, then access to that 5 acres would be on Lazy Spade, the currently private road. That is access to our property as well. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to review all of the contiguous neighbors in the area. We did get comment from them, and that was submitted, and they're all in support of this project.
Any commissioners, any questions for the applicant?
Commissioner, is it Mock? You had a question about the 30 degrees. The current property that we own has the greatest amount of slope on it. And the portion that would be furthest away from us that we'd like to split off and have our daughter on would be the portion with the least amount of slope. And possibly Kyle could address that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. So shortly we'll open for public testimony. I'll read the rules first. So the rules for public testimony are speak into the microphone in front, loud and clear, so we can all understand you, and so the people at home listening in can also understand you. State your name is all that's required. We don't need to know your address. Any public testimony may receive 3 minutes. The time limit is 3 minutes per public testimony. Any public testimony may receive 3 extra minutes, no more, from any other person who has signed up to share public testimony, for a total of no more than 6 minutes. Comments will be limited to the specifics of this file. If any public testimony agrees with the previously shared public testimony, please show your respect for everyone's time and simply state that you agree with that previous testimony. Personal derogatory comments about another person or their position are not allowed. Clapping, cheering, or booing is not allowed. And remember that this hearing is being shared live via the internet and is being recorded for public viewing later. So the chair opens the hearing to public testimony. Does anyone care to share public testimony at this time regarding this file?
Mr. Chair, I would ask for in favor, neutral, and against, just to help ask for it.
Okay, for
public testimony.
public testimony. Okay. So any public testimony that's neutral, any public testimony that is for, or any that's against. Do we have anyone online who has their hand raised?
No hands up online.
No hands raised. Okay. Well, that made that part easy. So the commissioners will now discuss the file.
Okay.
So if commissioners, there's a standards for land use decision-making worksheet that's included with this file. So that's kind of what we'll go through as far as our discussion process. Sorry, before we discuss staff, was there anything you needed to add or deliberate before we? Okay.
So it looks like the first one is IC 67-6511. Governing board shall analyze proposed changes in zoning ordinances to ensure that they are not in conflict with the policies of the adopted comprehensive plan. The request is found by the governing board to be in conflict with the adopted plan, or would result in demonstrable adverse impacts upon the delivery of services, et cetera, et cetera. The governing board may require the request to be submitted to the planning and zoning commission, or in absence of commission, the governing board may consider an amendment to the comprehensive plan pursuant to the notice. How do we feel about this, commissioners? Do we see any conflict with the comprehensive plan?
I don't see any conflict with the comprehensive plan.
I think staff reviewed that pretty thoroughly. That agree, shows nothing in conflict there.
Yeah, I thought staff's report was great on this as well. I didn't hear any conflicts with the comp plan.
And 12-215, the application and documentation provided by the applicant sufficiently meets the contents criteria. I think that's clear from the staff report.
Yeah, it seemed like all of the criteria were met. Did any other commissioner have any or see anything that was?
The only thing that I have a problem with is, and it's not on this worksheet, is the 12-323, section 1, which are the criteria for R10.
That's our not next item of discussion, but the one after that.
I don't, oh, okay, it's on there. Okay, I don't have that sheet, so.
Yeah, so we'll get there.
Okay.
Next is 12-216, adequate evidence that the proposal is not in conflict with the comprehensive plan as found in the adopted implementation component. That's, we covered that with the first 67, 65, 11.
Yeah, I think staff covered that well.
Okay, so now on to 12-323B1, whether the parcel in question meets the requirements for rural 10. And then similarly, 323B2, if it meets the requirements for rural 5.
So here's where we would list any evidence from the record that supports it or against it.
At this point, I see from the report the staff did that it does have slopes in excess of 30%. And it does, it is served by a network of public and private roads. So in that section, you only have to meet one or more of the criteria, and this does meet 2 of the criteria for R10.
I think the bigger, the question then we have to sort of answer for ourselves is what is characterized by mean? Like looking at this GIS map, this slope or this property clearly does have some slopes that are greater than 30%. In my opinion, I wouldn't say that, like that's what maybe like 5% of the whole property. So I would say that's not characterized by.
Properties have a lot of characteristics. could have wetlands, could have a seasonal stream, but the wetland or stream wouldn't cover the entire property. And in my view, having slopes greater than 30% make this candidate for R10 and not R5.
Any other thoughts, commissioners, about that?
I think you'll find a lot of variables and characteristic with each of the lots also in that area. I think if we zoom out a little bit, we can see that slope runs south. We already see those lots are smaller than R10. I think the majority of the lots in that area are in that or would have similar characteristics. And I think there's the vast majority of that lot that doesn't have that slope issue and would be very well suited to home sites. So I don't see any problem with that, but I do acknowledge Commissioner.
I think if you bring up the county GIS map and look at the other 5-acre lots down to the south, they're all less than 30% and have no 30% slope, greater slopes on them. So this block of up here that's all R10, they're R10 because they have 30% or greater slopes. And how one of them got done, who knows? At this point, county code is pretty specific about what is R10, what the characteristics make things an R10.
So in your opinion, that characteristic sets it apart for R10, but does that, the remaining characteristics also set it apart for an R5?
Well, it's a process of elimination. If it has that characteristic, it's R10.
It can be, and it could also be R5.
I don't believe so.
May I make an additional comment? No?
No, you cannot. Sorry.
Is he going to have the opportunity to
No.
rebut?
No, that was. Yeah, so we get back to what the definition or what our interpretation of is characterized by means. 14. And I think with regards to the roads, I thought staff pointed out that, like, clearly this is serviced by a network of roads, but that wouldn't normally meet the standards. Like, so I think that gives us some leeway in terms of.
Yeah, I have a hard time
Interpreting that.
with characterized by slopes steeper than 30%. There are slopes. There is a very small percentage of slopes, but when you say, is this lot, if I was standing on the lot and I said, gosh, this lot is characterized by a lot of 30%, that would be a steep lot in my opinion, but this is it definitely has a small percentage. If you look at that really dark area, yeah, maybe 5%. But the vast majority of that lot is in the green.
And then depending on how they're splitting it, if they're splitting it this way, you've got
It
two
makes the
large.
most sense to go that way, but that's not under our purview.
Yeah,
right?
I think-
Limited to just this.
Yep. People are able to do what they will with their own property within the scope of the comp plan. So the other ones on there located within critical wildlife habitat. I guess you could argue this either way. Contain prime ag soil, so it's not. is served by public and private roads. Within the floodway, no. Contain limited access to public services. Rural 5, developed at or near one dwelling unit for 5 and/or does not meet the criteria of R10. So really, it comes down to characterized. I would say it's such a small percentage of that slopes in excess of 30%. That it's basically a flat lot with some rolling terrain and then one steep little pocket.
I see it as a fairly black and white issue.
And that's why we have lots of us up here. That is our purview to have opinions.
So I think that we've covered kind of simultaneously B1 and B2 there.
Yep.
So would any commissioner care to make a motion to approve, deny, or continue this file?
I would make a motion to recommend approval. Commissioner Blazer?
I'll second.
Read the thing first.
We have a motion.
Oh, do we have a
He made the second.
second?
I think you get to say the important part.
Okay.
I move to recommend approval of this project to the Board of County Commissioners. File ZC0011-25, requesting a zone change from Rural 10 to Rural 5, finding that it's not in conflict with the policies of Bonner County Comprehensive Plan and Bonner County Revised Code as enumerated in the following conclusions of law. Conclusion 1, the proposal is not in conflict with the policies of Bonner County Comprehensive Plan. Conclusion 2, the proposal was reviewed for compliance with Title 12, Bonner County Revised Code, and was found to be in compliance. Conclusion 3, the proposal is in accord with the purpose of the Rural 5 zoning district provided at Chapter 3, Title 12, Bonner County Revised Code. This decision is based upon the evidence submitted up to the time the staff report was prepared and the testimony received at this hearing. I further move to adopt the reasoned statement as discussed in deliberation at this hearing and the analysis as set forth in the staff report or as amended during this hearing, and direct planning staff to draft a reasoned statement to reflect this motion as set forth in Idaho Code Section 67-6535. Have the chair sign and transmit to all interested parties. This action does not result in a taking of private property.
Thank you, Commissioner. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner. Does any commissioner care to discuss before we vote?
No.
Okay. The commission will now vote, starting from my left, please.
Commissioner Johnson, yes.
Commissioner Polson, aye.
Commissioner Blazer, aye.
Commissioner Mock, no.
Motion carries with 3 voting in favor, 1 against. Okay, our next file. ZC0012-25, Six Packs LLC, Suburban to Commercial. Applicants are requesting a zone change from suburban to commercial on 7.175 acres. Property is zoned suburban, located off North Riley Creek Road in Section 30, Township 56 North, Range 3 West, Boise Meridian. Project site is within the service areas of West Side Fire District and the Tweed Water District. Does any commissioner have any ex parte communication or conflict of interest to disclose regarding this application?
No.
No.
Okay, staff, please present the file.
Thank you, Commissioners. Daniel Britt, Planning Staff for the record. We're here to discuss ZC 0012-25. This is a zone change request from suburban to commercial. These are the following Bonner County revised codes for which this application was reviewed against. The applicant is requesting a zone change from suburban to commercial for the purposes of building a storage facility. The lot is located off North Riley Creek Road. The lot is approximately 7.157 acres in size. The lot has a comprehensive plan and use designation of transition. The lot is generally located in Section 30, Township 56 North, Range 3 West, Boise Meridian, Bonner County, Idaho. So the current zoning is suburban. So the suburban district is established to promote the development of residential uses located on the edges of in incorporated cities or other development communities or areas where urban sewer and water services are either available or have the potential to become available in the near future by reason of their inclusion in service districts, city service areas, or adjacent to those areas or area of city impact. Access to primary transportation routes and the system of hard surface roads are expected. Use of this zone is appropriate in areas designated by the comprehensive plan as transition, urban growth area, resort community, or suburban growth in the comprehensive plan, where a network of hard surface roads provides good access to primary transportation routes or potential public transportation systems. Urban services may not be available immediately, but are capable of being extended or constructed in the area. The proposed zoning is commercial. The commercial district is established to promote a range of commercial uses to serve the needs of the immediate area, surrounding rural communities and visitors without adversely affecting adjacent residential neighborhoods. The commercial district is also intended to provide opportunities for a variety of affordable housing types that are within walking distance of commercial services. Intensive large-scale commercial development is not appropriate due to the limited density of surrounding unincorporated areas. Access to primary transportation routes and a system of hard surface roads are expected, and consideration is given to potential public transportation access. Use of this zone is appropriate in areas designated as neighborhood commercial, urban growth area, or transition by the comprehensive plan and in community plans that are served at the time of development by adequate sewer, disposal services, water supply, roads, and other needed public facilities and services. Expansion of an existing commercial district or the creation of a new commercial district may be considered only if the expansion will not negatively impact the safety and function of a state highway or other roadway. The parcel is highlighted in black in this slide. This is the general area out in Laclede. You can see that there is some industrial zoning currently, some rural service center, but a vast majority is currently suburban. So this is a vacant lot that is platted. It's approximately 7.17 acres, is currently zoned suburban with a land use designation of transition. The property is accessed from North Riley Creek Road. There is a comment from ITD that I think they erred in as a possibility because they mentioned access off of Highway 2. As you can see in this slide, there is not access to Highway 2 here. So any encroachment permits will come from Bonner County, not from the state of Idaho. So some environmental factors, as it's mapped, the site does contain map slopes from 0 to 30% or greater. Those map slopes happen to be treetops in this situation, not land itself. The site does not contain any map wetlands. The site does not contain any waterfront or streams. The soil that's on there is mission silt loam. It is a prime farmland if it's drained. So services that are service districts that this parcel is within is the Laclede Water District. An individual septic system can be applied through PhD. Westside Fire District serves it for fire protection. Utilities will be provided by Avista Utilities. It's within the West Bonner County School District number 83. List of agencies that were routed for comment can be found in Appendix A of the staff report. On September 23rd, that was sent out. The following agencies did submit a comment: Idaho Department of Water Resources, Idaho Transportation Department, and Northern Lights Incorporated. Following agencies replied with no comment. That would be Kootenai Pond Ray Sewer District and Idaho Department of Environmental Quality. All other agencies did not reply. One public comment was submitted after the time the staff report was published, so you will find that in your folders as a late comment if you're looking for it. So the proposed The proposal is within the Transition Comprehensive Plan designation. This designation is appropriate for both the suburban and commercial districts as found in Bonner County Revised Code 12-324 and Bonner County Revised Code 12-325. So looking at analyzing the criterias for this, we're going to be looking at the roads now. The suburban district requires hard surface roads, providing good access to primary transportation routes. The commercial district requires roads, however, the code does not mention any general requirements for the commercial district. The transition designation general transportation criteria vision roads to be hard surface, which this proposal is within. The proposal is accessed off of North Riley Creek Road, which is a Bonner County owned and maintained paved right-of-way. Riley Creek Road is adjacent to Highway 2, which is an Idaho state owned and maintained paved right-of-way. Urban services. The suburban district states urban services may not be available but are capable of being extended or constructed in the area. The commercial district is appropriate when at the time of development is served by adequate sewer disposal services, water supply, and public facilities and services. The Laclede Water District serves the proposed, the Laclede Water District serves the proposal in the community of Laclede. The community of Laclede does not have a sewer district. The proposal can be served by an individual septic system per the applicant, though a septic permit has not been submitted as part of this request. Other public facilities and services. Our power is served by Avista Utilities, public roads owned and maintained by Bonner County in the state of Idaho. Fire protection is Westside Fire and the Bonner County Transfer Station. Range of housing types and densities. The community of Clede has a range of housing types and densities. Properties range in size from 0.35 acres to 90 acres. Housing in the community is typically single-family dwellings and accessory dwelling units. The community has a seasonal campground that operates in the summer months. Light industrial uses and non-residential uses. Non-commercial or non-residential uses that are in operation in the community are restaurants, convenience store, gas station, a lumber mill, church, an RV campground, boat launches, Pick and Berry Farms, and a Bonner County transfer station. Excluding commercial uses with extensive outdoor storage. So the code prohibits the storage of materials that are not in connection with a permitted use in all zoning districts, and this can be found in Bonner County Revised Code 12-333 in the commercial use table. Excluding large-scale commercial uses that would be more effectively located in incorporated cities. The applicant is proposing to use the property for mini storage. This is a permitted use in the commercial district per Bonner County Revised Code 12-333, BCRC 12-330, subchapter 3.3, use tables has prohibitions to large-scale uses in commercial zone districts. That concludes my presentations, Commissioners. I'm happy to take any questions.
You had a clarification. The first page states that the parcel is 10.72 acres. The application states 7.175. Again, throughout the staff report, it's saying 7.175. What is the correct acreage? Because there is some discrepancies.
I'm sorry, page 1 of the staff report?
Mm-hmm.
It was probably a typo.
Okay. Thank you.
Good catch.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, hearing none. Does the applicant or their representative care to present?
Yes, sir.
Just push him out of the way.
Oh, no. He pushes back.
Which one's yours? Do you see it here? That one? Get the same colors. Good job.
You set it up for me, Kyle. Or date.
It's hard to find good help these days.
That's right. Thank you, Commissioners. Travis Heiler, for the record, I'm with 7B Engineering here in Sandpoint. Congratulations, Commissioners, to the two new ones. Welcome to the Zoning Commission. Went straight to hitting it. So I'm here to present the zone change ZC 0012-25, the request for the zone change on the 7.175 acre property from suburban to commercial. So the reason we're asking for this is to construct the mini storage. But to go a little bit further than that, it's mainly because the current services on the land, on the site right now, are really showing us that mini storage would be the best for this. So you have the septic existing right now. There is no urban sewer district. So the soil conditions on the site are unfavorable to really support that suburban-like densities for residential uses for the suburban designation that it currently has. It would require, if residential suburban were to go through, it really would require the individual septic systems or a shared septic system. Both of those are not urban septic. So right there, it doesn't even meet the suburban zoning district definition. And with what we're proposing, there are no septic services needed with mini storage. So that makes sense. And then when it comes to water, like the planner, Mr. Britt, said, we are within the Laclede Water District. We did approach Laclede Water District for a will serve, and they are currently going through a local improvement district, LID. And with that, their attorney has told them to, until that is complete and finished, they will not give out any will serve letters. So it's also making it very difficult, but that also leads us to what we're proposing. The proposed for a mini storage does not require water service. So mini storage really starts to make sense. And then with the location next to it, we're next to the waste collection site. I don't know about you, but I really have no desire living next to one of those. So, the site location is perfectly in between Sandpoint and Priest River in Laclede, right on North Riley Creek. It is Lot 1 of the plat of Lou's six-pack. The comprehensive plan land use map shows this as transition. So you can see the surrounding comprehensive land designations. It's the gray with the black vertical lines. You can see the red down below is the urban, and then the blue is rural residential. That's where you get your R10 and R5s. And then across the water, across the river there, you can see that kind of salmon color with the diagonal lines. That's the resort community. And the green, just to round it all out, is the ag forest land. That's your AF10, AF20s. And then we come to the zoning map. So you can see that the zoning does have the rural service center directly to the south of us along the highway frontage. And then in the pink there, the industrial zoning, that's the lumber mill. And then the yellow, as we all know, is suburban. So the current zoning, as Mr. Britt pointed out, within the code. And so I'm not going to go through it all, but I do want to highlight the pieces in the code that really need to be highlighted. And really that comes down to the portion that is underlined where it talks about where urban services and water services are either available or have the potential to become available in the near future. Now, near future to me would be about 5 years. And as I stated before, urban sewer is not out there at all. So, and then if you continue to read through the code, it says may become available in the near future by reason of their inclusion in service districts, city service areas, or are adjacent to those areas of city impact. As we know, there is no service district out there for sewer. City service areas, there's no incorporated city out there, and we're not even adjacent or near those areas or city impact. If we look at the commercial definition of zoning, again, some things that I would like to point to, it talks about serving the needs of the immediate area with mini storage. We've already been approached by 3 residents asking, hey, when are you going to be up and running? Because this would be really good. And then access to primary transportation routes and a system of hard surface roads are expected and considered, in consideration is given to the potential public transportation access. I'll go further into that with trip generation report. And then at the bottom there, it does, if you look at 325B there, it talks about use of the zone is appropriate in areas designated as a neighborhood commercial, urban growth area, or transition by the comp plan, which we are, and community plans, and that are served at the time of development by adequate sewage disposal service, water supply, roads, or other needed public facilities and services. That is key. And then expansion of existing commercial districts or the creation of new commercial districts may be considered only if the expansion will not negatively impact the safety and function of a state highway or roadway. Again, the trip generation, I will bring that up. I will hit on all those. So the service availability that is out there and the infrastructure really points towards this mini storage. Why? Well, the roads, as Planner Britt also pointed out, Highway 2 and North Riley Creek are both publicly owned and maintained hard surface roads. The water service, yes, we're within the Lakeed Water District, but it's not available at this time. And this proposal doesn't require the water service. Sewer service is not available. If required, a shared or individual septic system would be needed. And as I pointed out, that is not defined as urban sewer. The soils on the site are challenging. And that was corroborated by PhD. And again, with what we're proposing, this does not require sewer service. The fire district, West Side Fire, provides it, and power is available by Northern Lights. They did provide a comment, and they said that they are not opposed to this project and are willing to serve us for the commercial use. So again, suburban, where it talks about where urban sewer and water services are either available or have the potential to become available in the near future by reason of. Therefore, it's saying that it needs to be provided by this. Their inclusion is service district, which we are not within a sewer district. City service area, we're not within a city, or the city serves this area, or adjacent to those areas or areas of city impact. If you look at that map up there, you can see the site in yellow. It's pointing to the site along the highway. What you're looking at is upper right is Sandpoint. The salmon color is the city Sandpoint city limits. Those are the lines. The magenta going around it is what is the area of impact. And as you can see, we're not even near, oh, excuse me, that's Dover, sorry. That's Dover, that's Dover's city impact area. We're not even near there. And the other nearest one is Priest River. You can see Priest River city limits, and then you can see the city impact area that extends across the river to the north, but again, it comes nowhere near. We are well over 5 miles from either one of those. So we don't even meet that suburban definition. If we look at the commercial, it talks about are served at the time of development. When we develop, we will have those services that are adequate for disposal services, water supply. We have roads already in place or other needed public facility and services. Because this proposal doesn't need those services, therefore they are adequate for what we are proposing in the development at the time. The infrastructure, the nearest mini storage available is 11 minutes to Spartan Mini Storage in Priest River. And the other closest mini storage is in Sandpoint, 15 minutes to Division Mini Storage. That's because mini storage is allowed within the city limits, within county code. It's allowed within the commercial and industrial, and is conditionally allowed within the rural service center. So some of you may be asking yourself, why are we asking for the commercial zone change instead of rural service center? Because rural service center is adjacent, looks a lot better, and seems like more of a slam dunk, if you will. And the reason for that is because if you look into that commercial use table for rural service center, note 33 under the commercial use table, if we were to go to rural service center, the maximum square footage for mini storage, boat storage, or rental warehouse facilities on a single lot or parcel shall be 10,000 square feet for the rural service center. That doesn't make any sense. I did some quick calculations there at the bottom. If you look at the site, it's little over 7 acres. That equates to about 312,000 square feet. If you're saying that on that lot I can only get 10,000, therefore that lot is just over 3% of that lot I can use actually for that use. No one's gonna really do that. It doesn't make it feasible, viable, or even attractive to anybody. 10,000 square feet, what are we talking? If each one of those 500, you're talking 20 units, right? If this is going to be the only mini storage within Priest River and Sandpoint, let's offer the community some. And then I put down there at the very bottom 35% lot coverage. The reason I put 35% lot coverage is because in code, 35% lot coverage is the maximum lot coverage you can go within any zone in the code. So at maximum build out, let's say we maximize this thing, we would get 109 square feet of mini storage. The reason I brought up 109 is because if you look at the trip generation is a table, a graph. And based on that, we would be 109 at the bottom there. It's a factor of 1,000, so equivalent to the 109,000 square feet. And if you go up to this is the peak hour weekday. This is the most vehicle trips in the whole ITE. The code for mini storage is 151. And it does the peak hour in the AM, PM, a weekday, Saturday, Sunday, those things. The most vehicle trips we would see would be 20. And I don't have Matt Mulder here, but I guarantee you that North Riley Creek can accommodate 20 vehicle trips. But if you continue to think about it, that potentially is not 20 new vehicle trips. That is taking potentially 20 vehicles off Highway 2 that otherwise would be going to Sandpoint or Priest River for mini storage and coming here. So this proposal is centrally located, again, reducing travel times for people that are already using mini storage, less vehicle traffic on the highway, and ultimately less road maintenance. Trip generation, it shows the peak for the weekday use, total of 20 vehicle trips, very minimal impact. And then the comp plan. The comprehensive plan, by definition, this proposal needs to meet the comp plan by BCRC 12-216, where it talks about the staff and governing board shall review the particular facts and circumstances of each proposal submitted and shall determine whether there is adequate evidence that the proposal is not in conflict with the policies of the comp plan. So I believe there's 14 policies. If the commission will so allow, I'll go run through them real quick. But we are not in conflict with any of these. A few of them are not really applicable, and some of them we hit out of the park. So property rights, the adjoining nearby landowners and future generations have been considered in this proposal. No letter that I know of at the time that I received this was in opposition. The population, again, I'm summarizing this. There are numbers of policies. I apologize for time and the sake of redundancy. So population, this proposal really isn't affected by that. School facilities and transportations. The transportation school districts were notified and no objections were received. The economic development, building mini storages provides a service, as well as that construction does spur economic development for the local contractors and the local area by supporting small businesses with the construction and then also with the mini storage use. Land use, the proposal does not directly complies with the policy 1, where it talks about commercial and industrial uses in areas identified in the comp plan suitable for such development shall be unconditionally permitted. Commercial and industrial uses in areas identified in the comp plan suitable for such development should be unconditionally permitted. Evaluation of suitability should be based on availability of urban services, adequate access to hard surface publicly maintained roads, and other factors that impact the surrounding community. Natural resources, no wetlands, creeks, or water sources were identified, and if you look at the DEQ, they replied with a no comment, not in conflict. Hazardous areas, there's none on the site that we know of. Public services, facilities, and utilities. Parcel served, that should be Northern Lights, Bonner County EMS, and the sheriff. All their services are not required with this proposal, but can be obtained through proper permitting if needed. No comments from agencies show how this would adversely impact their ability to serve. Transportation, we talked about that. Highway 2 and North Riley Creek, apologize for the typo. Recreation uses remain viable, and this proposal may encourage additional recreation now that people can store their toys at the mini storage and not have to drive so far. Special areas or sites, none were identified. Housing, the proposal may offer commercial does offer a variety of housing types, including workforce housing. Really don't anticipate this being affected with this proposal. And community development, as again, Planner Britt brought up, there are gas stations, lumber mills, office buildings, churches, community buildings, all within that area. The Rural Service Center, we abut it. There's an industrial, the mill right across the highway, and commercial zoning are all allowed in the transition land use designation. So this is definitely supported by the comp plan. In addition, there are standards for specific uses for mini storage. If you look at BCRC 12-486, 4.8 and 4.9 in the code outline standards for specific uses. So if we were to apply for this mini storage, there are specific uses regarding the lighting, setbacks, and other design standards that other uses don't have, and they will all be adhered to. Agriculture, really not applicable. So key things to kind of summarize and recap. This proposal for rezoning to commercial is not in conflict with the policies of the comp plan. The proposal is to allow for mini storage on site. Mini storage has its own standards, like I talked about. The existing services don't align with the suburban code where urban sewer is available or will become available in the near future. I showed the city impact, and there are no service districts, cities around that area serving the area, or are we even close to them? The soils, again, by PhD, are unfavorable to support the suburban-like densities. I know this is always something that is brought up when we talk about higher densities. We think of commercial as bad, but with what we're proposing, I really see this as a win-win for limiting the impact to the land itself. The proposed commercial use does not have adequate services existing on the site right now at the time of development for the proposed mini storage use. This aligns with the commercial zoning district. The creation of a new commercial district may be considered only if the expansion will not negatively impact the safety and function of a state highway. Again, ITD replied that they have no objections, or other roadway. We did get a comment also from Road and Bridge, and they just said, hey, when you go to this, get a commercial encroachment permit. So we have those two agencies that are under their jurisdiction actually giving comments for this proposal, and neither one was an objection. The site location is centrally located and provides a service to the surrounding community that otherwise would have to drive 11 plus minutes to the same service. I really see this as a benefit to the surrounding communities. And then also it's next to the waste collection facility. So I leave you with two kind of visuals. The one that just flew in, that is the nearest commercial to this site, if this were to get approved. And this is in Priest River. You are looking at the part to the right that is not colored. That is not zoned because that falls within the city of Priest River city limits. And so the west side of Priest River is the closest commercial and industrial that we see. And then you have Newport over there. And then that's going to the west. If you go to the east, again, the nearest commercial or industrial that we have is Peak Sand and Gravel, the pit, right outside Sandpoint, Dover. So as you can see, from a planning standpoint, this seems to be a much needed service, as well as the location is primed for it, as well as the land and its suitability. Take any questions the commission may have.
Commissioners, any questions?
I don't know if anybody else does. I had two questions. One, in regards to the site plan itself, because you're talking about not needing any water septic, but the office, it shows bath. It shows a bathroom, so what, if there's not gonna be water, how can you have a bathroom?
That's a preliminary site plan that was drawn up to give the commission an idea of what we're proposing. Yes, if there's no water, we can't have a bath.
And then the other question was, and I don't know, maybe if you can pull up like the site map again. ITD's statement was the parcel has two approaches and neither is permitted for access. Only one would meet the standards for spacing. According to IDAPA 3903, applicant would need to apply for a commercial approach. Because they're saying two approaches and neither are permitted for access. Correct?
Yeah.
Kind of, can you show what that looks like on the map? You know, what are they? And then
but-
only one would meet the standards?
Yeah, I think that's what the planner, Mr. Britt, had brought up, is that's incorrect. I believe that was a typo, because we don't even access the site from the highway.
Oh, it doesn't say anything about Highway 200 on the email.
ITD doesn't have jurisdiction over North Riley Creek.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
So they would have had to have been referencing Highway 2.
what's that?
They would have had to have been referencing Highway 2, is what you're saying, because they don't have jurisdiction over Riley Creek.
I can't speak for ITD, but I would assume ITD thought it was one of the properties fronting the highway, because there's no access from Highway 2 to this property. As well, as stated, ITD doesn't have, you don't apply for a commercial encroachment permit from ITD if you're not coming off the highway.
Okay.
Yeah, but Road and Bridge, so on the flip side, Road and Bridge did make that comment for North Riley Creek.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you for that clarification.
Any other questions, commissioners?
Don't have any.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the chair opens the hearing to public testimony. Before this hearing, commissioners were provided with one written comment regarding this file. Does anyone care to share public testimony at this time in favor of this application?
You want me to talk here?
Please.
Hi,
State your name.
Sally Ash. I'm an adjacent contiguous land holder here. I just had a couple questions. I think it's a good idea for the community, but I just had a few questions about if it would be still, if it's turned into commercial, would it still be 35% coverage? I don't know what the limit would be on that. So that would be one question. Also, what are the setbacks from the property lines? I'd be curious to know what those were. And then which one of those parcels would be the entrance, although that's really minor. It doesn't really matter to me. But yeah, those are the two main questions I have. What are the setbacks from property lines and what would be the total coverage there? That's all.
Thank you. Any other comments, either neutral or opposing?
My name's Josh. I also share property with it. The biggest comment I have is water. There's a lot of water that comes out of that whole area. In fact, the property in question that wants to be transformed has a seasonal creek that goes through it, and a culvert that goes under our shared road that carries that water. The dump itself has had to have a larger section of land taken out, and had a reclamation pond to hold a lot of that water, because we're like 30 inches from just pure clay. So it's very, very, very wet. And I do have a question as where the access would be from North Riley, because I do share a driveway with that. And then the actual highway access. If anyone's familiar with driving that road very often, it's becoming more like Dover was before they put their lights in. It's kind of a dangerous location anymore, with the mill trucks coming out, the fuel station, the dump station, just that little area is becoming a little harder for the local person to get back onto the highway from. I mean, obviously we can't really say anything about the highway itself, but it'd be nice to have some speed up lanes or something else added to help mitigate traffic. I know the traffic's only supposed to be very minimal, but if that does help to develop more properties, then it will attract more traffic in the near future. So something to look for as that comes. If that makes any sense. And yeah, that's it.
Josh, can we get your last name for the record?
Kirkpatrick. Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Patrick. Any other public comments at this time? And do we have anyone online?
There are no hands up online.
Okay. Yes. Would you like an opportunity to rebut, answer questions?
Yeah. Thank you for those comments. Appreciate it. Hopefully I can answer all of them. Try my best. There was a question about coverage. Yes, 35% is the max for any zone. So even as suburban, the max is 35% on a lot or parcel. Setbacks for suburban is 5 feet from property lines. Same with commercial, it's 5 feet from property lines. There, again, the 486, that does talk about the specific design standards for mini storage. There is a added setback for mini storage, and that's 100 feet back from any highway. It's in the code. We are, because we're just behind the gas station, if you will, the waste collection, we're 200 feet away from the highway. So there's that setback that we're just inherently meeting because we're away, we're not on the highway. And then the North Riley Creek, that's a 25-foot setback from the property line. If I'm not mistaken, I believe North Riley Creek is an 80-foot public right-of-way. Don't quote me on that. And so from center line, you can assume 40 feet, and then from the property line, we have to go back another 25 feet. So we're 65 feet away from North Riley Creek. That's a setback, the coverage, water. I'll speak to the best of the water that I know of. Because there's no mapped hydrology on the property, there's no setback per se when it comes to the county side of stuff. However, I do know that state code does have in there water discharge on your neighbor. You can't discharge water on your neighbor. And also because this is getting engineered, all of that is going to have to essentially flow to the ditch on North Riley Creek and can't go to any of the neighbors. Regarding the spring, I'm unfamiliar with that. But if there is a spring out there, the same thing, we're gonna have to capture it somehow and do something with it. And as you pointed out, clay, we know the soils that are out there are bad. So water's usually the trickiest thing to mitigate. And so, but we're gonna have to do it either way. So access from North Riley, not fully finalized, determined on the site plan. There was a preliminary one submitted, but that's going to need a commercial encroachment permit from Road and Bridge, County Road and Bridge. And then there's also County Road and Bridge requires a certain distance from the neighboring, the nearest approach, which I assume would be the waste collection. Don't quote me on this, but I believe it's a few hundred feet. So that's going to have to be. I can't speak anything to the traffic. That's the Highway District and Road and Bridge. I am part of the Bonner County Area Transportation Team, and I do know those two agencies do talk. They do talk about those type of intersections. There was talk when the subdivision in Peninsula went in, 118 homes. They required ITD and the county work together, Peninsula being a county road, the highway being ITD jurisdiction. They put in turn lanes. There's also the big, everybody hate Lakeshore and Highway 95 here. That is a major concern all the way up to the senator level that have put in their 2 cents. So at our level, that's not our jurisdiction. It would really take the Road and Bridge and ITD to talk about it, to really do that. But if you run the numbers, again, I'm trying to really pitch that this proposal is really not intensive at all. It actually is less intensive. 7 acres, right now, we would be able to go down to a ballpark half an acre lot. So that would be 14 lots that, if we were a developer, right? 14 lots, on average, each lot, each homeowner would have 2 cars, right? There's 28 vehicles right there. And we're saying at the peak of this, according to the ITE, the International Transportation Engineers, Institute of Transportation Engineers, at top it would be 20 vehicle trips. So right there, you're already looking at 20% decrease in traffic just based on that alone. So that's the access, the setbacks, the jurisdictions, everything that who plays with what. I hope I answered all the questions and kind of, I hope you can see this also thoroughly thought out. I forgot to point out the owner is here if you have any other questions, but also to show his support. So this is hopefully looked upon favorably. I would love to answer any questions you may have instead of, hearing about it in deliberation, but whatever the commission would like.
Any further questions, commissioners?
What is the surface going to be around the buildings there?
Gravel?
Most likely gravel. So that helps the water drain. And to be specific, the lady that asked the question about the entrance, it'll probably be in the dead center between.
Yeah.
I'm Will Sixpack. Am I supposed to?
For the record.
Sorry, my name's Lou Mineo. So I'm the owner of the property. The question I was answering was the entrance in the dream proposal of the land would be the dead center of the land from the transfer station to the driveway that currently goes to 193 Riley Creek Road. That would be the natural place to put it, so you could put storage units on each side of that main driveway.
Excellent.
Further questions, commissioners? Okay, thank you. Staff, any additional comments to add?
I believe Mr. Howler addressed all the code parts correctly, so there's nothing to add there. But I would encourage you guys to talk into your microphones, either pull them towards you during deliberations or sit closer to them so we can pick that up for the record. We have to write the decision letter. Thank you much.
Okay. The chair closes the hearing to public testimony. Commissioners will now deliberate the file.
I think it's important to state, just starting out, we're here to discuss a suburban to commercial rezone. I think it's important to know what's the intent from the property owner for the property as general information, but we're talking about a rezone specifically, not approval on a project of storage units.
Yeah, it's basically, once it's commercial, there are a whole number of permitted processes.
They're gonna have a lot of paperwork.
That they could very easily build something different there. My concern is this is a new commercial zone that only affects one property. And it it looks to me like it is a type 2 spot rezone, spot zoning. And because it's not a type 1 because it does meet the comprehensive plan. But it could be a type 2 because it does not mate well with 75% of the surrounding properties. And that would be my concern.
More general concerns before we jump into that.
Into the details.
Standards?
I don't have any.
My concern, once I heard about the seasonal creek, the water, that makes me wonder what type of impact is that water do, the melting, do we get snow, it melts, flooding, you guys said you have a culvert. I understand, I mean, gravel's gonna help the water permeate through better, but it is a lot of clay, the runoff, that's definitely a concern. And then where the application doesn't note anything that I personally seen, unless I overlooked it, about any water on the parcel. So
From a rezone perspective or from a use perspective? Is that your concern?
both, I mean, just where you've got, right now, it's suburban and stuff, and then you want to go to commercial. With commercial, often you've got a lot of concrete. You don't have a lot of the drainage once you go to commercial. And if there's a lot of standing water, what type of potential issues could that cause?
It's really, because we're doing a rezone, the ultimate use of the property is something that happens when they apply for the,
That would all come in later.
yeah, and that's when they would design flood control or whatever you want to call it. This is truly just whether we decide that this piece of land should be changed to commercial.
And then I think where Joe's coming from too is it's surrounded on three sides by
Suburban, and
then
it's
recreational,
basically
and then
either
it is-
vacant land or residences.
And then to have a commercial right in the middle of all that, just, I kind of struggle with that.
It'd be one thing to, in my thinking, if someone that had one of the rural service center parcels on Highway 2 wanted to change it to commercial to build whatever, that's something that is, in my mind, more understandable than this one that's off the main highway.
So if I understand right, so if a different owner owned it, then it could go a different direction? You said if somebody that already owns a commercial or the gas station, for example.
Let's say the gas
on Highway
station
2.
wanted to level the place and build a Dollar General. Okay, then,
On the gas station property or
exactly,
on this property?
on the gas station.
Okay,
property.
that's what I did, I misunderstood.
Well, let's talk about standards for the change review then. So 67-6511, governing board shall analyze proposed changes to zoning ordinances and ensure they're not in conflict with the policies of the adopted comprehensive plan. I feel like that was, policies of the comprehensive plan were fairly thoroughly covered both by the staff report and the applicant.
The problem with, in that area, the spot zoning laws in Idaho are in that 67-6511. I don't have the exact paragraph or whatever section, but that's where it talks about spot rezoning. And if you go over the Givens Pursley handbook, that's where courts have delineated type 1 versus type 2 spot rezoning. This really, in my estimation, looks like a type 2 spot rezoning.
Did you notice it? Did staff mention anything about type 1 or type 2?
They did not.
Any conflict?
And I had asked Alex to have an attorney online. I don't think he's online.
He is online.
He is
If
online.
you have questions for him.
Nate, can you tell us about whether this is a possible type 2 spot rezoning, spot zoning?
I was not here for most of that. Go over the reasons why you think it is that.
Because the surrounding properties are not commercial, they're residential, suburban, and this is a new commercial zone, and it affects a single property.
Okay. If that is if the board has that evidence before them, then they can make that determination.
So Nate, do you know that this is Alex Fan? Sorry. So what Commissioner Mock is referring to is the Givens Pursley Land Use Handbook that was provided. Do you have that in front of you?
I don't.
Okay. Well, it's accessible on their website, or I believe I've forwarded to you. If there's an outstanding question that the zoning commission would like to, if they would like a more thorough analysis on it, Nate might be able to take some time and review that. Nate's new to the scene, so he might not have that resource memorized. So
It's on page 77 through 82 of Givens.
Okay.
I'll have to get that and take a look at it.
Circle back to that, I suppose. BCRC 12-215, the application and documentation provided by the applicant sufficiently meets contents criteria.
Yes, I agree.
So, so Commissioner, to your point, 216 or 12-216 is your questions about whether this is in conflict with the policies of the comprehensive plan?
It's not in conflict with the policy of the comprehensive plan. Plan specifically says that commercial is allowed in that particular land use area.
Okay.
So not questioning that whatsoever.
Okay, so we're in agreement there.
Yeah.
Okay. BCRC 12-324, does the parcel, so we'll discuss, I guess, 324 and 325 at the same time. Does it meet the requirements for suburban, or does it meet the requirements for commercial?
I think both staff and the applicant did a phenomenal job. The applicant was very, very thorough in his slides on the suburban zoning district. I think he proved without a doubt that suburban really isn't applicable or shouldn't be in this case. I didn't see anything to the contrary there.
Yeah, especially the lack of current water services and the lack of will serve letters seems to carry that it isn't appropriate for the current suburban zoning district.
It's really not appropriate for either district. I mean, how it got to be suburban in the first place is anyone's guess, but neither one of them fits nicely.
So then, does it meet the requirements for commercial as was outlined by staff or the applicant? And specifically from the record, what supports our conclusions for that?
325B, it It doesn't have sewage disposal services or water supply. That's, as I read this, a requirement of a commercial district.
So roads, it meets the roads.
Yep.
No issue there.
Cleve doesn't have a sewage district.
No, it basically talks about these commercial districts should be located in or around cities, developed areas. I don't really think it meets the commercial district standards.
Can be served by individual septic system. That hasn't been included.
So I guess we need to go through the standards then, just to be thorough. 12-325. Commercial district is established to promote a range of commercial uses, serve the needs of the immediate area surrounding rural communities and visitors without adversely affecting adjacent residual neighborhoods or residential neighborhoods, which this does meet.
Well, no, it actually doesn't, because there's residential neighborhoods around it. There's residences on two sides and zoning for residences on all three sides.
And the interesting thing there is we heard from neighbors that said that it does not affect their adjacent homes.
Yeah, it doesn't say it can't be there, just that it doesn't adversely affect them.
Commercial district is also intended to provide opportunities for a variety of uses. Intensive, large-scale commercial development is not appropriate, which this wouldn't be. Access primary transportation routes, we talked about that, their transportation plan. I think they missed a key element there. If it was developed as a housing development with 14 homes, they didn't account for teenagers. And that would increase the traffic count substantially. My teenagers don't make just one trip a day. So this would be a far less of an impact from a traffic perspective than a residential. So commercial provides for a wide range of small to medium scaled retail, professional, government, personal service uses. No conflict there, allowing for mixed use buildings. Light industrial uses, et cetera, et cetera.
Commercial, excluding large-scale commercial, applying simple design standards. Use of this zone is appropriate in areas designated as neighborhood commercial, urban growth area, or transition. So there, it's in transition.
By the comprehensive plan and community plans.
And that are served at the time of development by adequate sewage disposal, water supply, road.
So we don't know when the time of development is, but at the time of development, they will have to meet those standards. Based on, to your point, Commissioner, they could change and say, we want to do a cattle ranch, or we want to do whatever they want to do that's a commercial use. They'll have to go through those hoops and paperwork at that point. Expansion of existing commercial districts or the creation of new commercial districts may be considered only if the expansion will not negatively impact the safety and function of state highway or other roadways. So that's really the only.
And I don't see it affecting anything like that.
Yeah. 20 cars, not a lot of traffic. I think staff and the applicant did an excellent job of meeting and explaining why they meet, and I think we've reviewed that as well. The opportunity to transition or to go from a transitional zone to And I think it's also
Suburban.
suburban, but it's in a transition designated area. I think that's important to note as well.
So we're waiting for Nate.
To get clarification on your type 2 question.
All right, so so I'm looking at the land use handbook right now, and so what is your question again?
So there's two types of spot zoning, type 1 and type 2. Type 1 is where the rezone doesn't match the comprehensive plan. And in this case, it does match the comprehensive plan, not a problem there. The other type is type 2, and that is where the surrounding properties, land use is not compatible, or is in let's see what it says. The second type referred to as type 2 spot zoning refers to a zone change that singles out a parcel of land for use inconsistent with the permitted use in the rest of the zoning district for the benefit of individual property owner.
Okay.
And the question is, does this fall into that area?
Well, I mean, that is a determination that the board will have to make. And so I can help you walk through that process if you need to, but that's a determination you're going to have to make.
Okay, walk us through the process.
Well, what is the surrounding zoning? What is the zoning in that area?
It's suburban.
Okay.
Except to the south, which is rural service center.
Is it abutting the different zoning classifications?
Yes.
Okay. And so what uses are on this one parcel of land that put it in conflict with the typical surrounding zoning?
It wants to be, it's proposed to be changed to commercial.
Okay.
How's that a conflict?
Yeah, I'm failing to understand how it's inconsistent with
Permitted use in the rest of the zoning district.
with the gas station right next to it.
Well,
or the
to the
sewer
south, that's true.
right next to it.
I don't see a inconsistency there. I see inconsistency on 3 other sides of the property.
Okay.
And also just changing this to commercial, how will that affect property values of the surrounding residents? Is that something we're also should be considering too?
So that's part of the first thing that we covered, our first IC 67-6511.
Well, and 6511 has this in it, the rezoning law
Right.
code in it.
So if it's not completely in conflict with the surrounding area,
The word is, hold on, the word is inconsistent.
right,
That's what the courts have said.
right. I'm sorry. So the surrounding area is zoned suburban,
Correct.
and then right to the south of it is zoned. Did you say retail?
Rural Service center.
rural service center, and there are businesses basically being conducted in that area, a gas station, you said?
Correct.
Okay. Could you zone this then the rural services and still accomplish the same thing?
Well, that's not what is being proposed.
Okay. Is it then inconsistent with what is being what surrounds it?
That's correct. On three
Right.
sides, 75% of the perimeter of the property is zoned suburban.
And then the one south side is abutting land that is rural services, which includes some business activity.
That's correct.
Okay. And what business is, because they want it to be zoned as retail?
No, they want it zoned as commercial, which
commercial.
could be any number of things.
Right. So would that be inconsistent with the surrounding area?
Since it's suburban and residential, yes.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Okay.
But I'm not an attorney. I'm not the one that's going to get sued. Well, actually, could.
Don't ever say that.
That's what we're trying to avoid.
Right. So what you have to determine is if you feel that that is inconsistent. And then you have to detail why you went one way or the other. So what are your thoughts?
I believe it's inconsistent. My analysis is that the rezone, although not in violation of the comprehensive plan, is out of character for the surrounding area and for no good reason other than to benefit this particular applicant.
Okay. That is supported by evidence that has been presented at the board. What do the other board members think?
I agree with Mr. Moss. And it's a great idea. However, I do agree. It's singling out one particular parcel to change the zoning classification.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
I feel a little bit different. I think, looking at this from a real estate perspective, you always look at what the highest and best use is. And yes, this applicant could go a lot of different ways, but I think the intended use is, and as it was explained, is consistent with being the highest and best use for this property. From a spot zoning standpoint, that's interesting, and I think that's a very valued opinion and note there. But everyone that comes, I think, before the zoning commission is looking for their own benefit, right? They want to do what they feel is best with their property. And so I think that point could be argued with and applied to every single person that comes before the board.
Well, there's no doubt about that. I mean, nobody put an application in if it wasn't going to do them any good.
Right.
But
It's
this
always
is
going to be a benefit.
But this is basically decided law in Idaho at this point.
I think the last point that I would make is someone has to be first. There's always the first property that's the 5 acre zone in a group of 10 that has to go through the process and fight the battle. And we looked at one earlier today, or it seems like every week or every month there's a few of those. And the 20th or 30th or 15th person that wants to rezone like their other neighbors have done has it a lot easier than the first. But as far as a use and the way it's likely to go when you look at the commercial businesses.
I don't disagree that it's a good use.
Right.
You know,
That are-
that's not,
that are right
not
there.
the issue.
Yeah,
The issue is
I
that,
think I'm talking.
okay.
Thank you. I think eventually you're gonna see that kind of a use there. I think it's the highest and best use, being right adjacent to those other commercial uses. And so I don't see the application of that, especially when it complies with the comprehensive plan as it's written. That's my opinion. Go ahead, Commissioner.
That's okay, that's fine.
I will note that there is a distinction between being different than your neighbors and being in conflict with the comprehensive plan.
Right.
So to do something out of the norm is different than going against what all your neighbors are doing. And I think the law is making a distinction between the two.
We do have neighbors here that were in favor of the project as it was proposed, of the zoning change specifically.
So anything further to discuss there?
No, I've said everything I need to say.
At the moment.
Okay. Would any commissioner care to make a motion to approve, deny, or continue this file?
I'll make a motion to recommend approval. I move to recommend approval on this project. The Board of County Commissioners, file ZC 0012-25, requesting a zone change from suburban to commercial, finding that it is not in conflict with the policies of Bonner County Comprehensive Plan. Bonner County Revised Code is enumerated in the following conclusions of law. Conclusion 1, the proposal is not in conflict with the elements of Bonner County Comprehensive Plan. Conclusion 2, the proposal was reviewed for compliance with Title 12, Bonner County Revised Code, and is found to be in compliance. Conclusion 3, the proposal is in accord with the purpose of the commercial district zoning designation provided at Chapter 3, Title 12, Bonner County Revised Code. This recommendation based on the evidence submitted up to the time the staff report was prepared and testimony received at this hearing. Further move to adopt the reasoned statement as discussed in deliberation at this hearing, and the analysis is set forth in the staff report or as amended during this hearing, and conclusions of law and direct planning staff to draft the reasoned statement to reflect this motion as set forth in Idaho Code Section 67-6535. Have the chair sign and transmit to all interested parties. This action does not result in a taking of private property.
We have a motion. Does any commissioner care to second the motion? Commissioner Wilson, I will second the motion. Anything further to discuss before we vote? Okay. Commissioners will now vote, starting from my left, please.
Commissioner Johnson, no.
Commissioner Polson, aye.
Commissioner Blazer, aye.
Commissioner Mock, no.
Staff, help us out. What happens when we have a tie?
Thumb wrestle.
So, yeah, I prepared for this just in case it would happen. So I talked with Nate earlier today, and since the current sitting board is only you four, and if there can't be an affirmative decision made, it would probably be best to continue until there is a full board. Because if there is a recommendation of essentially no recommendation, it doesn't seem like you guys could go back and forth on as many motions as you want, and it probably would be a 2-2 vote. So if there was a recommendation of no recommendation to the board, and say the same situation came up with the board, the underlying decision ends up being the decision, and there is no underlying recommendation. So it would be best to continue the file. Since we don't know when we will have a full board, you don't have to continue to a date certain. We would just renotice the file and essentially hold the hearing again.
Okay.
So that would have to be the motion to continue the file.
And, okay, so the motion is to continue the file, date uncertain. Do we have to vote on that motion?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, you do.
I would make that motion. I'll make a motion to continue this file
I'll second.
at a certain time.
I think we need to pick a date.
How can we pick a date
No,
when we
at
don't?
this point, since we don't know when a full board will be sat, we'll just find a date once a full board is sat, and then we will
renotice it.
basically just go through the whole process again.
So Commissioner Blazer, I'll restate the motion. I move that we postpone this file until such date as we have a full board, at which time we will pick a date and review this file.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. We can vote starting from my left.
Commissioner Thompson, yes.
Commissioner Polson, yes.
Commissioner Blazer, yes.
Commissioner Mock, yes.
Motion carries. With all four voting in favor. Okay. Our last file is ZC 0005-25, Delmar, Rural 10 to Recreation. Applicants are requesting a zone change from Rural 10 to Recreation on plus or minus 1,100 and 153 acres. The property is zoned Rural 10. The project is located off Peninsula Road and Hope School Road in Section 13, 18, 19, and 24, Township 56 North, Range 1 and 2 East, Boise Meridian. Project site is within the service area of Sam Owen Fire District. Does any commissioner have any ex parte communication or conflict of interest to disclose regarding this application?
No.
No.
Nor I, so staff.
So Commissioners, before we get started, I have a sneaky suspicion this was going to go on for a while. At least I know how long my presentation is. I have seen the applicant's presentation because they did submit it. A break may be in order, but that's up to you, Chair.
Yeah, good idea. Okay. So we will, the time is 7:22, and we'll take a 10-minute recess, and resume at 7:32.
My favorite suggestion tonight.
So at the desk.
Yeah, at the desk. So if you want to do some before the presentation, before we review.
And then you have our.
I do, yeah.
Oh, boy.
No, we put it in the file already,
That could be
so.
pretty loaded there.
Alex put that check the list in. I cannot find it in this drive. Because I know I had it in found it in a couple different spots at home.
What are you looking for?
That-
Oh, the checklist?
Yeah, because I know, I remember seeing it in there.
It's in the, if you open the staff report folder for each one. I know, it's like. Let's go to the staff report and then.
Oh, there it is right at the
Yeah,
bottom,
there you
okay.
go.
Like, I knew I
And
had
it's
seen
different
it.
for each one, because it's so,
Okay.
because, so like, I mean, basically it's just the wording for like,
Yeah.
you know, suburban versus commercial or whatever.
And I had been looking at it, I'm like, where did I find it? So I'm like looking over at your computer screen, it's like, oh, our drawing.
Yeah. Pull that out for this one. Okay, let's see, six pack. Two, comments on this one.
I'm gonna come back and Jake. Up there. Thanks for giving me the call back.
About as much fun as you can have in a night, right?
Especially on a Thursday.
Yeah.
Much better.
Yeah, I realized how much I need to stand up.
Floating.
So, Mr. Chair, technically now, when you do the public testimony,
Yes.
start in favor,
Start in favor.
and then do both online in the room, neutral,
Online and in the room. So,
so on and so forth.
He doesn't have that on the script.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying
I
that.
know, at least he left you with the script. Just happy to hear that still. That's super helpful.
It's nice to us.
We made sure.
Made sure that, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm like, dude, you're sending it over. It's like, okay.
I'm not going to flatten the tires on your plane.
Anything else I know I
No, you're doing awesome. It's just that public testimony.
bounce back and forth. Will do.
Did staff print all this for him?
What's up?
Yeah.
Hey, good to see you. Good to see you too.
Questions?
Good job.
I didn't, but our admin staff did, so.
I'm like, wow.
It's been a lot of
Together.
Took some time.
Yeah.
I know where I'm supposed to be going. Doesn't mean I get there.
It's all before 5 too. So, all's well. You guys doing all right?
No, it's like online. Yeah.
It's finally, wow. Play with you.
Are you gonna go down south?
I'm gonna be in.
Yeah. I'll go eventually.
That was my very
Don't
first
play
day.
off to the way, I'm season now.
I'm just trying to think ahead.
So, yeah. So.
How's everyone thinking
Right.
along?
Yeah, busy.
It's definitely gonna make everything.
It's a friend of his.
Yeah.
All right. They're doing gangbusters. That's right. Yeah.
My presentation too much.
You know, so he likes it. They keep busy. Yeah. So they're both doing really well. The kids are going well.
What do you like to do for fun?
Supposed to be the excited mom.
Ham radio.
Oh, really? You got a station all set up? Yep.
Yeah, and April came back from Mexico. It was like,
I got a couple of Fords,
yeah, so they had
Baofeng. That's just, there's so many buttons on there. I don't know what you do with your buttons, but I'm button overwhelmed at the moment.
So that's, basically handheld two-way.
Yeah.
It's gonna be EHF or UHF.
Yeah.
I do high frequency, which is so-called short wave.
Yep.
And I'm up to 126 foreign countries so far.
Holy crap.
So,
I had an uncle.
and I've been in ham 2 years.
Oh, really? Yeah. I had an uncle that was in ham. He had a huge antenna in his house, and he used to try and show me how it worked. And we try and get, people in other languages. And it was intriguing, but
No, I just
I couldn't figure it out.
No long wires, that's it. 100 watts and long wire, you talk to
I thought I was pretty impressive at 5, whatever my little things are.
126,000 years, so.
Yeah, I guess I'm doing all the amendments.
But is it just? Yeah. It bounces off the layers of the atmosphere.
But it took me a while.
And certain layers are there in the daytime and certain are there at the nighttime. And the activity on the sun affects whether things are working too. So there's bands for daytime, bands for nighttime. That's pretty cool. But, and there's sometimes it makes the sun, sometimes the sun hurts and sometimes when it helps. And right now we're in a mode where it's helping. And there's one particular band, literally 100 watts, you could talk to Switzerland, South Africa, Australia.
Is that when there's like a normal event?
No, it's when there's not. Yeah, right now, the most recent ones have been on the far side of the sun away from us, so these are very quiet, today especially.
When the aurora is going
Well, NASA has stuff
you
that
get on
watches
there and
it.
you're like, oh, she's not working.
Oh, no, I've been in the middle of a conversation and have the band just go off. It's gone. Yeah.
That's cool
Just
stuff.
wish them well, you know?
Someday.
I'd like to learn more about that.
Couldn't find another one.
Maybe when this is all over, like my Thursday nights back. You know what, though? We had a year group at church, young men, under 14, 15.
Probably so. There is Lawrenceburg Charter School, and one of our, there's a ham radio club in San Antonio, Bonner County Amateur Radio. We're about to go back to business.
On the clock again.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
Good time is 7:32. Meeting will come to order. Staff, please present the file.
Thank you, Commissioners. Daniel Britt, Planning Staff for the record. We're here to discuss file ZC 0005-25. This is a request for a zone change from rural 10 to recreation. These are the following code sections for which this request was reviewed against, as found in the staff report. The applicant has proposed a zone change of approximately 1,153 acres from rural 10 to recreation. For the applicant, the reason for the request is to pursue development opportunities. Current comprehensive plan designation is resort community for approximately 1,123 acres, and approximately 30 acres of submerged lands is rural residential zoning. Proposal is generally located in Section 1, Township 56 North, Range 2 East, Boise Meridian, Idaho. Some background on this 1,100 acres. It is currently unplanted. As mentioned, it's 1,153 acres approximately. It's currently zoned rural 10 with the land use designation of resort community. Access is via Highway 200, Hope School Road, East David Thompson Drive, and Domar Drive are the general access points to the proposal. Highway 200 is an Idaho state-owned and maintained paved right-of-way. Hope School Road is a Bonner County-owned and maintained and paved right-of-way. East David Thompson Drive is a Bonner County-owned and maintained paved right-of-way. Ormar Drive is a privately owned and maintained right-of-way. These are some environmental factors, and we will get into these in more detail later on in this presentation. But for now, the proposal does contain map slopes of 0 to 30% or greater. The proposed area does contain map wetlands, and the proposal does contain mapped unnamed intermittent streams and has lake frontage on Lake Ponderay. Looking at this slide, portions of the proposal are within the flood hazard zone. That flood hazard zone is all there in blue. The proposal is highlighted in blue in an outline. There are several soils found on the parcel. Those are all listed in detail in the staff report. None of them are prime farmland. Services that are available for this proposal. There is a proposed community system for water. There's a proposed community system for sewage disposal. It is within the Salmon Fire District. Power is currently provided by Avista Utilities. It is within Lake Pend School District number 84. It's within the Bonner County Ambulance District, as well as Pend Hospital District. So on September 23rd, 2025, agencies were notified. That's found in Appendix A of the staff report. All the comments are found in Appendix B. Following agencies did provide comment. Their entireties are within the appendix there as well. So Idaho Department of Water Resources, Bonner County Road and Bridge Department, Ellisport Bay Sewer District, Department of Environmental Quality, Pano Health District, Salmon Fire District, Department of Environmental Quality, and Idaho Historical Society all provided written comments. The only two agencies that provided no comment were Kootenai Pend School or Sewer District and TC Energy. All their agencies did not reply. As the date of the staff report, public comments were received on this proposal. So currently, it is with the comprehensive plan for majority of this proposal is within the resort community. The vision for the resort community provides for urban-like density for areas centered around the recreational areas developed for winter, water sports, golf, hiking, where urban services are provided. 30 acres that was previously mentioned there, you can see in the red arrow pointing to it, is within the rural residential area and provides for residential development in areas where urban services are not available and slopes may vary up to 30%. These areas include hazard areas and critical wildlife habitats. The lower densities reduce the potential impacts to resources and exposure to loss of property or lives. Small-scale agricultural uses and residential developments are permitted. I think it's noteworthy at this time that 30 acres is all submerged land. Okay, so the rural district, BCRC 12-323. The rural district is established to allow for low-density residential uses that are compatible with rural pursuits. Purposes can be accomplished by, 1, limited residential densities and permitted uses to those that are compatible with rural character in nearby resource production districts, and sites can be adequately supported by rural service levels. 2, allowing for small-scale farming and forestry activities and tourism and recreation uses that can be supported by rural service center levels and are compatible with the rural character. 3, encouraging conservation development configurations that create permanent open space for farming areas, protect sensitive environmental features, reduce infrastructure costs, or enhance recreational opportunities. Current zoning is Rural 10. The use of this zone is appropriate in areas designated by the comprehensive plan as follows. R10 in areas designated as rural residential in the comprehensive plan that meet one of the following criteria. A, characterized by slopes that are steeper than 30%, located within a critical wildlife habitat as identified by federal, state, or local agencies, contain prime agricultural soils, served by a network of public and private roads that are generally do not meet the applicable roadway standards set forth in Title II, which is public roads, or of this code, or Appendix A, which is the private road standards of this title, or where roads are absent. It's within a floodway and contains limited access to public services. So the Recreation District per BCRC 12-328, this district is established to provide a wide range of recreational uses in areas where, if accessed by road rather than solely by waterways, the road shall be located within a recorded easement or public right-of-way, except for the subject to the terms of an approved special use permit or state or federal agency, adequate water and sewer services, and fire services. Consideration shall also be given access to potential public transportation systems. Recreation District is intended to provide for a range of housing types and uses that are accessory and complementary to recreational and residential uses. These purposes are accomplished by these next two that we're going to discuss. So the use of this zone is appropriate in areas designated as transition, neighborhood commercial, urban growth area, and resort community with the following conditions. Land is physically suitable to accommodate a broad range of residential and recreational uses, and 2 sites are served by adequate sewage disposal services, water supply, roads, and other needed public facilities and services. This is a small breakdown of everything I just read to you. I see that it's tiny on the screen. You can't read it, and I'm not going to recap it because we're going to get in detail for each one of these here shortly. So the rural intent standards. Designated as rural residential in the comprehensive plan that meet one or more of the following. Characterized by steep slopes located within critical wildlife habitat as identified by federal, state, and local agencies. Contain prime agricultural soils served by a network of roads that are public and private within a floodway and contain limited access to public services. This is what R10 is envisioned to look like according to Bonner County Revised Code. These are the following parcels that have slopes from 0 to 30% grade. The proposal indicates that 19 parcels totaling approximately 1,153 acres of land. The list below is an approximation of acreage per parcel that has map slopes of 30% or greater. That is also found in the staff report. I'm not going to read each one of those to you and those numbers. This is looking at that slope map, and we can see the breakdown there from 0 to 10, 10 to 15, 15 to 30, and 30 above on the proposal. So the proposal is highlighted in blue there, or outlined in blue. And that map is also found in the staff report. So the next criteria is it located within a critical wildlife habitat. The proposal is within the David Thompson Wildlife Preserve, further described in Idaho Code 36-1906. The purpose of the Wildlife Preserve is to create for better production of wildlife and animals and birds, for the establishment of breeding places, therefore, and for the preservation of species there found in Idaho Code 36-1901. However, wildlife preserves are not mapped as critical wildlife habitats in Bonner County. The only adopted map critical wildlife habitat in the county is for bull trout. Portions of the proposal are adjacent or within the mapped habitat. A request for agency comment was sent to agencies that manage wildlife on September 23rd, 2025. Idaho Department of Fish and Game was the only agency to reply, and they didn't have any comments on this request. So the next criteria, does it contain prime ag soils? All parcels within this proposed zone change do not contain prime agricultural soils. These are the soils that are listed in their entirety, also as found in the staff report. This is taking a look at the soils map. Once again, the proposal is outlined in blue with the soils listed below. That is found in the staff report. I just didn't mention that. So we look to see if it's served by a network of public or private roads. The proposal is served by a network of public and private roads. The primary access point to the Hope Peninsula is Highway 200, an Idaho state-owned and maintained paved right-of-way. Peninsula, Hope Road, and East Dave Thompson Road are Bonner County owned and maintained rights-of-way that access the proposal. Domar Drive is a privately owned and maintained road. A request for agency comment was sent on September 23rd, 2025. Bonner County Road and Bridge stated that this proposal will not have an immediate impact on the department. However, long-term impacts could be substantial. A traffic study will be needed to make a determination. You can find their full comment in Appendix B of the staff report. Idaho Department of Transportation did not reply to request for comment on this file. This is looking at the roads that we just discussed. Highlighted in green there are the Bonner County owned and maintained roads. The white ones are the private roads. So Domar is off the screen, or or sorry, right here. I don't know if you can see my cursor in white. Sorry. So now we look to see if it's in a floodway. This comment comes from the floodplain manager. Bonner County Floodplain Manager has identified the following parcels below are within the map flood hazard zone. Those are found in the staff report. I'm not going to recite them during this presentation. On these parcels that contain special flood hazard area, the only land within the special flood hazard area are the shoreline and near shore areas. These areas are generally within a few dozen feet upland of the high water mark on these parcels. The vast majority of the special flood hazard area that exists within the boundaries of these parcels is submerged lands, meaning the lake. The vast majority of the non-submerged lands that exist within the boundaries of these parcels is within special flood hazard zone X and therefore outside of the designated floodplain. While it is generally recommended not to upzone anywhere within a designated floodplain, it should be noted that all the parcels in this proposal have either most or all of their land outside of the floodplain. If this is rezoning is approved, all parcels will have the vast majority of their existing land available for development outside of the special flood hazard area. If the applicant is planning a subdivision after approval of the rezoning request, the applicant should be aware of requirements per Bonner County Revised Code 14-501 and 14-503, particularly those requirements relating to subdivisions. The applicant should be aware that these requirements will apply to any subdivision application submitted to this department if the subdivision proposal area contains any special flood hazard area whatsoever. This is the map again of that floodway showing the D zone, which is the land itself, and AE and A are blue. And that's found in the staff report as well, that map, for you to review. So does it contain limited access to public services? The proposals within the service area of Bonner County Sheriff Department, San Moen Fire District is approximately 1 mile away. Utility provider is Avista Utilities. The Bonner County Transfer Station is approximately 5 miles away for solid waste disposal. Lake Pend Oreille School District number 84 provides educational transportation services for students, is less than a mile away. A portion of the proposal is adjacent to Ellisport Bay Sewer District. Ellisport Bay Sewer District has submitted a letter outlining options for the applicant to provide sewage disposal for their proposal. So moving on to the standards for the recreation. Can the proposal provide a range of housing types, providing for commercial and private resorts which contain provisions for a range of recreational activities, exclude uses that are not compatible with the desired recreational character of the area, encourage conservation development, applying simple design standards that enhance the recreational opportunities and character of the area, comprehensive plan designation as a resort community, is land physically suitable to accommodate a broad range of residential and recreational uses, and served by adequate sewage disposal services, water supply, roads, and other needed public facilities and services. We're going to go over each one of those in detail as well. So, range of housing types, where we'll start this evening. The whole peninsula currently has a range of residential uses, such as single-family dwellings, multifamily dwellings, and vacation rentals. These types of housings are permitted by right in both the rural district and the recreational district, as found in Bonner County Revised Code 12-332 Residential Use Table. Density counts on properties can fluctuate depending on parcel size, as found in Bonner County Revised Code 12-411. Minimum acreage size for the rural zoning is 10 acres. The recreational zoning per Bonner County Revised Code 12-412 allows for lots to range in size from 12,000 square feet to 2.5 acres, depending on the levels of service. So, providing for commercial and private resorts which contain provisions for a range of recreational activities. Currently on the peninsula, there is a resort that has a marina, a restaurant, and an RV park. There's also a public campground, with hiking trails and access to Lake Ponderay. Within 2-mile radius of the proposal are restaurants, a gas station, other marinas, boat repair businesses, and an indoor recreational complex. Exclude uses that are not compatible with desired recreational character. So subchapter 3.3 of the Bonner County Revised Code has 6 different use tables that either permit uses by right, conditionally, or prohibited uses in zoning districts. These are examples of uses that are permitted or conditionally permitted in the rural district that are prohibited in the recreational districts. I'm not going to read all of them, but for example, equipment sales and services, racetracks, roadside stands, meat processing, sawmill, shingle mill, planes, so on and so forth. That list is found in its entirety in the staff report. So here's a few examples of uses that are permitted or conditionally permitted in the recreation district and prohibited in the rural district. And those would be boat storage, hotels, motels, indoor recreational amusements and amusement places, associated concessions, resorts, commercial private, restaurants, retail, sales of food, gas, sundries, so on. Also, that extensive list is found in the staff report for you to read. So next is encouraging conservation development configurations. Though Bonner County Revised Code does not require the creation of conservation developments in any district, the code encourages conservation developments in all districts. For those developing in the county, Bonner County Revised Code 12-630, conservation subdivisions, guides property owners in how to develop a conservation subdivision. Conservation subdivisions are encouraged clustering to help reduce infrastructure costs and dedicate open space. Properties can also qualify for density bonuses under this code. So applying simple design standards that enhance recreational opportunities and character of the area. This request is not for development. However, depending on future uses, they can be requested through Bonner County Revised Code, Chapter 4.5, Design Standards, and Chapter 6, Subdivisions, Title 12. Design standards guide how land can be developed. So there's stopgap measures put in place in the code. They will dictate, depending on uses that they may be interested in. So comprehensive plan designation as resort community. Most of the land included in this proposal is currently classified as resort community by the comprehensive plan. Parcel RP 56N02E 182401A is currently split between 2 land use designations, rural residential and resort community. The parcel is approximately 114 acres and approximately 30 acres is designated as rural residential. The portion classified as rural residential is all submerged land, which is excluding density calculations when development occurs. Is the land physically suitable to accommodate a broad range of residential and recreational uses? Bonner County Revised Code allows for a broad range of uses both in the rural district and the recreational district. With the current level of service available to the proposal, the code allows for a variety of permitted, conditionally permitted uses to be pursued in the rural district that could be accommodated a range of housing types and recreational uses. If services were to be expanded and/or the properties are rezoned, other types of residential and recreational uses can be expanded, both permitted and conditionally permitted in the recreation district. A complete list can be found in subchapter 3.3, Title 12, Use Provision Tables of the County Code. Service provided by adequate sewage disposal service, water supply, roads, and other needed public facility services. The sewer district has indicated that there are options available to the applicant currently to develop a method of sewage disposal. The applicant has proposed a possible new community water system or extending an existing service. Roads and other public facilities were addressed in previous sections of the staff report. That concludes my presentations. I can take any questions the commission may have.
Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Brett?
No.
I think he addressed some of the questions I had already.
Thank you, Mr. Brett. Does the applicant or their representative care to present? Please.
Let me pull up their presentation. You just use the arrow.
Claire Marley for the record, Ruin Yeager and Associates, 219 Pine Street. Also joining us today are Ruin Yeager's representatives, Darius Ruin, Toby McLaughlin, Byron, and Arlen Ruin, who are also here as applicants. So a couple of quick notes as far as the applicant. It did not say in your staff report that we also are, the applicants are also the Dormar Land Management LLP, so they are also applicants in this particular application. So I'm going to go over a couple of things, and thank you, Daniel, for covering the details on the zoning district. First of all, we've already covered that this is 1,500 acres, roughly 1,500 acres total, although about 200 acres of that are submerged lands, and you'll see that in a couple of the coming slides. And our request is to seek the recreation zone. So just a couple of quick orientation slides here. You probably are familiar already with where that Hope Peninsula is, but just a red arrow here showing that location roughly south of the city of East Hope and north of the city of Clark Fork. And then the second arrow showing you this particular site in general location. And then secondly, the drawing or the red area showing the particular parcels that are covered by this application. And then a couple of aerials and shots of the property so you can see what we're talking about with respect to the varied terrain, the types of land, and other details to help you understand the request. So this is an aerial shot showing the southern portion looking north. And then I have a couple of slides of the waterfront. This will come into some later discussions about what the waterfront is consisting of. So you'll see there's some rockier frontages as well as some pebble beaches and some other areas that are approachable by boat if need be. Second slide here is to show that there are various meadows within this property that lend themselves to ability for land application if need be for sewage disposal, for possible future developments. Next slide is just some viewpoints so you can get an idea of the extent of the properties. And then the forest lands, which are also present on this property. So as I mentioned, this is also owned by the Dormar Land Management LLP. I've already covered the fact that this is a submerged land, and so the history of that is interesting in that this used to be farmed by the Ruin family. This property covers 3 generations of the family, and they had a significant farming operation until the dam came along, and that resulted in a federal constitutional taking of the properties. So the land that was farmland is now gone, and they are unable to farm this property any longer. And as Daniel noted in his presentation, there are no prime ag land soils, and there are no cropland farming there is none any longer done on the property. And the rest of the property currently is developed with some seasonal and year-round housing and some outbuildings. However, as I noted in the previous slides, the photographs show that there are multiple buildable areas within that property. The question on why is this zone change necessary, I think, is evident when you looked at the slides presented by planning staff, in that it doesn't fit the rural 10-acre minimum. It does fit what the recreation zone provides for. And there are a couple of following slides I wanted to provide to you that basically say what Daniel has already presented, in that there are some slopes that are greater than 30%, but they're not characterized by slopes that are greater than 30%. It's not within a critical wildlife habitat, It does not contain prime egg-land soils, and it is served by a variety of road systems, including public and private. It is not within a floodway, and it can be and will be accessible to public services. Whereas the recreation zone does fit the comp plan, it is a resort community, and it has been a resort or recreation for 47 years, and it is physically suited for a broad range of various recreational and residential uses, as the photographs evident. And then lastly, sites are available for adequate sewer, water, roads, and water systems. So the next slide is basically just summarizing that the resort community designation indicates that this could be rezoned to suburban, rural service center, or recreation. What it doesn't list is the rural 10, which is why we're before you today, is to ask for that designation to properly be fixed to this property. Again, the same criterion. I know that Daniel went over this, so I'm going to jump over that slide. So the next slide, what I wanted to share with you is that the current comp plan designation is by a map that was approved by the county, and I have an exhibit of that. I don't know if you've already numbered those, Dylan. The first exhibit, I have copies for everyone, is the official comp plan map of the county. And it's not the digital map, it is the map in front of you now. Exhibit, thank you, Exhibit A. And although the land is submerged, there was an indication that there is some rural residential blue within this parcel or adjoining this parcel, but there is not, and this is your official map. I've attached the resolution as well. This has not been amended since that date, and so therefore this property is entirely resort community. The next slide is also supported by an exhibit, and would that be Exhibit B, Dylan?
Yes.
Exhibit B is the 1978, the original comprehensive plan of Bonner County. The cover sheet recognizes that that's the plan. The second is showing the actual mapping of this land. And you can see the red circle on the slide that shows that this entire Hope Peninsula is shown as recreation, and it has been that for 47 years. And recreation, when I say recreation, I do mean the comp plan designation, not the zoning. The next slide does show the zoning, so you'll see that the current site in yellow shows rural 10, dark blue, and the remainder of that to the west is shown in red, which is recreation, and a portion of that north, which is also in recreation. These include some developed, very small residential lots, some recreational and resort uses, a federal park, and a number of other recreation type uses. So the applicant is seeking that same designation and zoning as these are afforded, as well as what that comp plan has shown for nearly 50 years. And the next is just a little bit of a close-up on that red zone, that red area there. The staff report had indicated to the west that we had only some vacant lands, but you can see to the west of the property are some significantly smaller lots and recreational uses as well. A little bit on the slopes. Daniel did show you the GIS interactive map slope indicator. This is actually developed from on-the-ground survey of elevations and details on what the topography is. Somewhat shows the same, but wanting to indicate that this is particularized, it's actually on-the-ground proved, and it does show the yellow and green being that lower sloped properties, while the darker purple browns are somewhat more of the steeper slopes. And again, I'm going to briefly go over this. There are no prime ag land soil. Proof is on the ground as well as in the soil surveys, U.S. Department of Agriculture, no prime land or prime ag lands. And then floodplain has been fairly fully covered. It does show that basically the ring around the Hope Peninsula is at what we call an AE numbered flood zone. The elevation of the flood zone is at 2074 feet above sea level, and by the time we use that 40-foot required setback, we're out of the floodplain. And so any development is likely going to be out of the floodplain regardless, just because of the required setback requirements. Next is critical wildlife habitat, and I do have an exhibit for that. I believe that would be Exhibit C. And this also is what staff indicated, that there are, within this area, only the bull trout shown within the federal listed critical wildlife habitat. There had been some reference about local indicators of critical wildlife habitat, and just to assure for the record that there is no local critical wildlife habitat mapping done. This is only on a federal level that critical wildlife habitat is mapped. So I just wanted to make sure that you are aware of that. And then secondly, we do recognize that this is within the David Thompson State Wildlife Preserve. And that is a designation that has been created for this property, but it does not mean that it cannot be developed. It means that it's protecting breeding grounds and health of the existing wild animals and birds on that property. The next slide just covers briefly the fact that there are some wetlands on the property. Those have been identified locally by the applicants. They are nearly the same as what the federal mapping shows. So I'm just showing in the green circles those primary areas where there are known wetlands located. And then transportation, the Ruin family has added to this mapping. You saw on the earlier county map the main Dormar road system coming into the property off of the Schoolhouse Road. Within the property are also some developed roads that allow for exit into and out of the properties, some fire breaks and other uses of those roads. So the purpose of this slide is to show that we do have a complete circular access to this property, both from local roads that have been created by the family, as well as existing East David Thompson Road, the Kalispell Loop, the Peninsula Road, and then out onto the highway. So there's a full access and a circular access within it that take care of the concerns that there may be about any potential access in or out of the property in the event of emergency. And likewise, the fact that it's on the waterfront also provides an additional exit point should there ever be an emergency. And again, this is further indicators of where those roads are. Just a quick correction on Dormar Drive. Dormar Drive is actually not a right-of-way, it's an easement. So that comes into the property as a private easement versus a right-of-way. And again, this is just a closer view of that Kibera Loop, the East David Thompson, and the Peninsula Road that serve this property. So the next slide is a discussion of where the family is at with respect to the potential use of this site for future wastewater collection and disposal. And I have that last exhibit, which should be Exhibit D. And it just details the overlaying red outline of the property, and then that darker brown color showing the Ellisport Sewer District. So you can see that it adjoins the sewer district and has facilities to the north and east of the properties. Lake Pend Oreille has been designated as a special water resource by the state of Idaho, by the federal government. And that means that there can be no point source pollution entering the lake. And that means that there will be and has to be development of a system that treats that wastewater on site and does not discharge it into the lake. The family is aware of that, and the Ruin Engineering has developed the Ellisport Sewer District system on that. And so the second bullet point on this particular slide indicates that this is that no new point source discharges are allowed, nor any existing sources increase discharge of pollutants. So this is the going forward requirement of the development of this property, should there be any, and they have to meet those requirements. So Roon Yeager worked with the sewer district since the 1980s to design and construct that system. And the future development of the site, the future development of any sewage wastewater disposal would be in accord with that development and knowing the property capacities as they are now and as they have been researched. And as staff mentioned, there were 3 options that were reviewed with the Ellisport Sewer District, and those are listed in your application as well as in this letter that was provided to you by the Ellisport Sewer District. And those 3 options are listed in the letter and then detailed here so that you can read those. And basically, the options are that Dormar would create their own private system that would do the on-site collection, treatment, and disposal as we discussed earlier. Or it could annex into the sewer district. Or lastly, it could form a private company that could serve both their land, possibly aid the sewer district in their operations, and possibly serve those who are adjoining the property and who don't have any other form of disposal except the septic systems. The next is the water sources. And again, this would be developed through a private water company. Likely would be one of 2, which is well systems, which there are some indicators from well logs that show there are depths from 61 to 100 feet and up to 150 gallons a minute, so we know there are sources within the area. The second option would be to draw from the lake, and our applicant has developed a system that does just that within Kalispell Estates, so that's also a known, perhaps a known water source. And then the zoning district asks us to determine whether or not there would be any effects of noise, light, glare, odor, or fumes on adjoining properties from this proposal, even though this is at a zone change level. The answer to that is there would be no effect. There is no known effect of those types of concerns. And then the zoning application also asks how is it compatible, and I think as you looked at the mapping and saw the red recreation zoning and those uses that are already there, this would be, as a recreation zoning district, be compatible with already the uses that are on the lake. And then these are kind of following up with what Daniel talked about with the future uses of the property. The zone change is the first step in being able to develop anything on this site. And so these charts show that nothing further happens basically without coming back before the county for anything except for those that show up in the letter P in that darker yellow on the right side. And so essentially it's residential uses and residential accessory uses. Anything else that are listed uses in that zone except for home occupations do require that you come back to the county. And that's where you will see the specifics on any particular use, the specifics and conditions applied for any sorts of improvements for water, for sewer, for roads. So the zoning district sets only the first stage of that. And again, these are quick slides just confirming that as you look down that darker yellow, you'll see everything's a C. That means conditional. It's 1P there for a shower, but that has to be associated with a resort. Okay, so a couple of responses in order with respect to the agency comments. San Juan Fire District talked about the concern about this being in a mountainous area, and we just wanted to reflect that the San Juan Fire District covers a great deal of properties, including one island, some mountainous areas, and that area north and east of Hope. So if you're aware of where Hope lies, that area beyond it is fairly steep as well. They also voiced concern about adjacency to the school, Hope School, but we want to point out they're also adjacent already to the highway, Highway 200. And we also, as we demonstrated in our circular road patterns, that there are many ways out of this property and there are emergency exits. And then lastly, that those details will be worked out with the fire district in the event of any future development. The County Road and Bridge, the first part of Matt Mulder's comments was that the proposed zone change will not have an immediate impact on the Road and Bridge Department, ... The rest of it is that he's concerned about substantial development in the future. So the first part of this is we're looking at the zone change, and that's step one. We're asking for the ability to go to the recreation zone to then develop all of the specifics. The rest of the document submitted by Road and Bridge does overstate the potentials of this property, that there would be 4,100 potential home sites. That's a great exaggeration in that you would, if you took the census of today and multiplied that 2.3 times 4,100, we'd be looking at 8,000 people on the peninsula. That's not reality in the fact that we have submerged lands, rock outcroppings, we have wastewater treatment systems that have to be built, there are wetlands and beachfronts, and the desires of the applicants have to be taken into consideration. And lastly, I want to point out that this is not a conditional zone change. It doesn't condition us to doing certain things or providing certain things, nor does it hold us to anything except what the recreation district allows. The next is Idaho DEQ, and they basically say what we all understand, which is we'll see you at development stage, and at that point, we'll make sure your water and sewer is in place. Health District says essentially the same thing, that when that time comes, the future water and sewer facilities have to be brought before the Health District and DEQ. Ellisport, we've already talked about, and they've indicated that they are aware of those three options and have discussed those with the owners. IDWR reminds us to obtain the water rights or the will serve letters from the sewer systems at time of development. The Fish and Game had no comment. I know Fish and Game is here today in case there are any things that need to be asked of him. We are aware of the archaeological statements made by Idaho's SHPO. There have been some initial, what we call reconnaissance of the area. We're aware of some sensitive areas within this particular region, not specifically on the property, and are aware that a future cultural resources survey may be required at time of development. Couple of quick comments in reply to the public comments so far. The Hope Peninsula, just in response, the Hope Peninsula is developed already with RV and resort uses, subdivisions, including some very small subdivision lots, and as well as the Samoan U.S. Forest Service Park. The owners are aware that it's within the David Thompson Game Preserve, but it does not prevent development. And then lastly, concerned about impacts on the roads, and this particular letter noted that they already are having traffic problems. So that indicates that that's not the development of this property that's causing those, that they're already present. And it would be not on the owner to correct those that are already deficient. They would only be providing for what goes forward as a result of their development. And this is just a summary again of what we had already talked about, of how this does not fit the rural 10 and does fit the recreation. I believe that concludes my presentation. Any questions?
Who is David Thompson?
David Thompson is a surveyor. Correct me if I'm wrong, boss. Fur trader is an early day surveyor, and this is named after him, as are some of the other. I'm not a perfect historian on him, but I do believe he was an early day surveyor.
I had a question, if you could clarify. You stated as you began your presentation that's 1,500 acres with approximately 200 submerged, yet the documentation says 1,100.
I probably just misspoke. It's 1153 is the correct.
I have a QA background, so that is really
You're right.
particular. Thank you. And then I did have another question. Looking at a Google map, so the access to Highway 200, it looks like the only access is Peninsula Drive to 200. There's the loop, obviously, yes, but is the only access point?
Questions for her?
That's correct.
So there's just one way in, one way out.
As are many places in Bonner County.
So Dormar Drive, that's an easement.
Yes.
Who is the easement in favor of?
I'll ask the owner to represent that question. So he's indicating it's the family's ownership.
Does it transfer when you subdivide?
Do you want him to come up to answer those questions?
Makes no difference to me. I
Okay,
just want the answer.
just not sure if we're picking it up.
Sorry. I'm Darius Ruin with Ruin Diggett Associates. Yes, the right-of-way would be able to be transferred to Bonner County. And actually, Bonner County has built the road up to the Hope Elementary School without an easement, I guess, without a right-of-way. They're claiming it as a prescriptive right or prescriptive use, which that gives them the right to have the road there, so.
Any other questions, commissioners? Okay, thank you, Ms. Marley. Okay, the chair opens the hearing to public testimony. Did we have a sign-in sheet for testimony today, or we'll just, okay. So, does anyone care to share public testimony in favor of this proposal that's here with us? Anyone online in favor of the proposal? Okay, anyone here present care to share neutral comments or neutral testimony for the present? That's up to you.
You got to identify.
Then I'll do neutral. Hi, my name is Neil Jones. I preside right now out on the peninsula. A couple of just neutral comments I will make is I think the biggest thing that we are all concerned about, all of us that live out there right now, is the unknown. We have no idea that what's going to be in the future. The area that you see that is all designated as recreation is built, but it's been there for a long time. So the road system that goes in there is very small, and it's 2-lane, narrow roads going in. And the one thing that I thought was interesting is when she was talking about the access for emergency access with the circular roads, they're all gated. We have no access. We have one way on and one way off. So right now, if there's a fire in the beginning of the Peninsula Road, in order for me to get off, I would have to go around that gate or bust down their gate to get into some kind of road, which I don't know where they are because I've never been on them. And then at the same time, I would then have to turn around and, or take my boat and take my boat off the island. So that was an interesting comment. And that's, our biggest fear is coming to ends, like I said, the unknown. What do they plan to do? What is it going to affect our lifestyle? Is it going to affect right now where things have been, the population is not very great. We sit there and we handle it pretty well. Is it going to get to the point that, they talked about how the population could grow? We have no idea. So, and again, that we understand that's all down the road in the, but I think it's everybody will sit there and watch that, or will speak about this. This basically is about access. What happens with construction? Are the constructions going to go on the existing roads? They'll beat them up. They'll tear them up. Are they going to bring in and show that they're going to build new roads in there so that they have access, another access off the 200? Another thing they bring in is the fire protection. I'm a retired LA City fire captain. Sam Owens Fire Department is a volunteer fire department. Response times on there is depending on who they get. So to sit there and to say, again, it's an unknown. How big is their development? How many units or whatever are they going to build? We don't know. So that's one of our main concerns. And so when you sit there and this has kind of been thrown onto us, and this is the first step, obviously, as a zoning, but that's a hell of a large, you're looking at 1,100 acres that they could develop with us not knowing Do they have plans to improve the infrastructure? Do they have plans to improve the fire department? Are they going to put in a hydrant system? Are they going to be able to, all these questions that come down, we have no way of knowing. So to me, it would have been very advantageous for them before they applied for this to actually have a meeting with the community out there to say, hey, here's what we're planning. We're planning to do this, we're planning to do this, we're planning to do this, but we're going to improve the infrastructure and we're going to turn around and we're going to build better roads and we're going to sit there and say, is this good or is this bad, and get our opinion. They haven't gotten our opinion on anything. And I deal with Ruin Yeager, and we do have our own water system. And I appreciate their help and I appreciate their work, but at the same time, like I said, this was kind of just thrown on us. So, thank you.
Any neutral comments online?
No hands up online.
I think I know where the other comments are headed. Okay. So we'll open to opposing comments from the public here.
Hey, I didn't.
Go, Jane, go.
Hi there, Jane Holzer. I also live on the Hope Peninsula, and I am opposed to this because it's right, we have all this property out there. So they start with 1,153 acres for a rezone. Why can't we start with a section, a portion of something like this instead of trying to do something so massive as that? And what is it that they're we've got a lot of stuff out there that's going on. We've got the petroglyphs down at the point there. How are those things going to be protected? We've got the game preserve. How are these animals going to be living through all of this kind of thing? Why can't this begin in a smaller kind of a venue than 1,153 acres of something? Because we're all just trying to live. We've got a wonderful environmental area right out there. I'm not, also with this sewage plant thing with Ellisport Bay, they tried to do something with the sewage plant just for Hope itself. And they weren't able to expand their sewage plant out there. There was no way to get rid of the sewage. They were talking about putting it into Lake Ponderay. So, I mean, they're talking about something like Ellisport Bay sewage, but that's been discussed and found out that that is not working. So there's just, I think that this is going too far within a small period of time. Why can't it be done in sections so that things can in fact be worked out? Everybody knows that everything's going to be developed somehow, but nonetheless, why don't we just get around to doing it properly rather than jumping in and finding out things don't work? So I'm just concerned about the wildlife, the access to the sewer and the water, and also the fire. That was the other thing that was brought up in the past, was that there's only one access in and out because Rowan tried to do something earlier, and that was set back because there was no way to get in and out and to protect the people. So there are a lot of things that I think should be pre-planned before jumping into something and finding out that we have now 1,153 acres of something we don't know what to do with. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Holzer.
Yeah, my name is Glenn Johnson, and I'm not really against it. I'm not really for it, so I guess I'm neutral. One of my concerns is, to kind of reiterate some of the things that have already been said, is the actual impact of the community. And when I say impact of the community, we have, like they said, one road in, one road out. During the summertime, when the RV parks are in full bloom and and our population out there probably triples, there is a lot of foot traffic on that one road that goes in and out. I think we're getting the cart before the horse to a certain extent. I think some infrastructure needs to be completed before we start looking at the increasing public demand on some of the services. If you're looking at the amount of acreage they're talking about and at the minimal amount or the maximum amount of 2.5 acres, well, then you're looking at 400, you could divide that into around 400 sites. If you end up reducing that to smaller than 2.5 acres, then you can double that. So if you have 400, let's say at the minimum you have 400 home sites. At just 4 or 5 people per home per site, you're looking at an increase of around 2,000 people. 2,000 people means 2,000. Most families have 2 cars. That's 4,000 cars. Huh?
Got to cover teenagers.
No, teenagers, okay. They travel many more miles than we do. Us old people have a tendency to stay home. But like I said, I think the biggest impact is the community itself. Like I said, I'm not for it and I'm not against it. I just need more information to be able to make a decision, and some of that information comes with the financial impact. I'm not talking about financial, but I'm just saying an impact that's going to could be dangerous to a certain extent if you had 2,000 cars on one road in, one road out, and in the summertime you get a bunch of people that are not what I call them flatlanders. They don't really realize that you can't walk in the middle of the road, and you start getting construction vehicles coming in and out with dogs and hikers and stuff like that. I think that's an issue. Like I said, we're kind of getting the cart before the horse, I believe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Please.
People said what I was saying.
My name is Donna Jones. I go with him. Darius, I have to apologize. You've been at my house working on our facilities plan. I still appreciate you. No hard feelings. I know you've all been roaded out. The one point I would like to possibly address is they talk about the gate at the top of David Thompson, which is a lock gate at the top of David Thompson. Then there's the access road that hasn't been built yet, but it is about, I'm not quite sure, give me a little bit of it here, but maybe 300 feet wide as it hits Key Bear Loop. Key Bear Loop currently has our water system on one side of that and 2 houses on the other side, in between the 200 to 300 feet of access. So they want to bring in a possibility that they would bring in to this gravel road and use it as an access and egress would severely impact the people that are on that road, of which there's only about 5, maybe 4 or 5. And so, yeah. And then another access point is their property actually crosses over Peninsula, and there's a little strip of land that actually touches the water. And so when if they would use that little strip, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, because I could be wrong, but it looked like it on the property line, that little strip of land would also be an access for them for water use. And that concerns us because that little strip of land borders that terrible Peninsula Road. And I would suggest that all of you take a field trip out there and drive on, if you haven't, drive on Peninsula Road, go up David Thompson and see the impact, and go down Key Bear Loop and see the impact it would have on the people. That's our homeowners association, all those homes right there, and see the impact it would have, because it would be very large. and very concerning to all of us. The other thing is, I should say, we do have a migrant elk population that comes in and out of there, and wolves have been sighted on that land as well. So there is a wildlife impact. Whether or not the Department of Fish and Game acknowledges it, when we've had them come out for a sick deer, they look at it and they turn away and walk away. They won't do anything. And I understand that. No, I don't agree with it, but yeah, I understand them. I was in wildlife biology, so, but there is population, so I did want you to know that, just in case. Not for shooting, though. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Any other comments from public? Anyone else online?
We have Teresa Heiser
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
This is a hard no. Oh, Teresa Heisner, Bonner County resident. This is a hard no for reasons that will take us well into midnight. Thank you.
That was awesome.
Thank you, Ms. Eisner. Anyone else online?
Cornwall Castings.
Hey, this is Jason Cornwell. We're out at 327 Peninsula, 327 Starling Circle. Our question is, I don't know if I can ask a question at this point, but can you clarify a little bit about how you're planning on access building on that site? Is it down Peninsula Road and then to the site, or are you going to access to build only on the Dormer Road that's next to the school?
Yeah, well, the applicants will have a chance to rebut and answer questions, so we'll save their comments for that time.
Copy. All right. All right. Well, we are very much against it because of all of the reasons everybody else has mentioned about just the unknowns. It's not that we're opposed to future. We're not opposed to small development or a golf course, something small, but this sounds enormous. It sounds like it has endless possibilities of taking a very beautiful place that we've been out here for 40 years and turning it into Coeur d'Alene. And we all know we don't want that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cornwell. Any others online?
No other hands up.
Okay. The chair closes the hearing to public testimony. Any rebuttals from the applicant?
Yes.
Please.
Claire Morley again for the record, and just a quick response on the unknowns. It isn't, as I mentioned earlier, a conditional rezone or a zone. So if the applicant were to say, I want to do X, Y, and Z, they aren't held to that. So even if we were to say that, if you change a zone, you aren't held to that. And the other, my picture is gone now, but the other point is this is not a surprise. This is 50 years of being designated recreation or resort community.
Toby McLaughlin, Sandpoint Law here in town, attorney for the applicant. Just a couple of quick points here. One, I can read my own handwriting. The written easement question, real quick. I mean, it's an appurtenant easement, which means it benefits the land, and then it runs with the land. So just to clarify that, it's not an easement that's specific to a person, it's the properties. The next question, what's the plans versus what's at issue now? I mean, what's at issue now, you guys know this, it's a rezone. And so the question, really the primary question, not saying the only question, but the primary one is, does it comply with the comp plan? And we've shown that the very first comp plan had this entire property designated as recreation. It has been always, the current designation is against the comp plan and has been the entire time Bonner County's ever had a comp plan. So what we're trying to do is correct that and to bring it into compliance with the comp plan. That is the purpose of this. The plans, and I understand everybody's concerns about the unknowns. And the reality is, it is still unknown at this point. You have to go through the rezone process before you can justify how much to spend on planning and figure it out. The nice part about the way the Bonner County Code works under a rec plan is almost everything requires a conditional use permit, short of just a home. And so there is going to be another level of deciding when and whether the traffic impacts, whether that is, a particular use is going to violate somehow or be a danger. That will be evaluated at the conditional use permit stage, as will everything else. The sewage, the water, all that has to be evaluated and proven. This is just the rezone only. The David Thompson Wildlife Preserve, I just want to address that because that is a legal point. It is a wildlife reserve in the sense that the statute specifically just says you can't take wildlife, being birds or game. What that means, from my review of it, is you can't hunt on the Hope Peninsula. The statute says nothing at all about you can't develop. And there's no authority that I could find that supports the concept that anybody could, or a county could say, you can't develop your property because it is in the David Thompson Wildlife Preserve. If that were the case, we wouldn't have any developments out there. And, people build out there all the time. I think that about covers, the last one I want to point out is this one road in, one road out. I mean, we can't help the fact that this property is on a peninsula. That is just a physical reality. And we don't, my client does not own the area where it comes right into the peninsula. We don't have the ability to create a new entrance to the peninsula. All we can control is our own property. And within that property are multiple entrances and exits in an attempt to protect, if there were a fire in there, that would be the way to deal with that. All right, that's the only comments I have, unless anybody has any questions.
What's the width of the easement?
I don't know that off the top of my head. Do you know?
It varies up to 80 feet in width. It varies depending on where it's located on the slope.
What do you think the minimum is? I mean, the easement's a legal description. It should say.
It's a minimum of 60.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. McLaughlin. Ms. Marley. Any additions from staff before we?
Unless you have some questions, Commissioners.
Questions for staff, commissioners? Okay. All right, we commissioners will now deliberate the file. Okay, so same thing. We'll start with 67, 6511. Governing board shall analyze proposed changes to zoning ordinances to ensure they are not in conflict with the policies of the adopted comprehensive plan. I think that's really the question of this file, as was pointed out.
I don't see any conflict with the comprehensive plan.
Yeah, I think that was addressed in the report. Same goes for documentation. I think we could all agree that the documentation provided by the applicant was sufficient to meet.
Staff didn't note anything in their report to the contrary either.
Yeah, so 12-215, we're good.
Commissioners, I hate to interrupt. Folks, this is all being recorded, so it's imperative that they pick up their voices, not the audience. If you'd like, you can go down the hall. We'd invite you to do that if you want to discuss the file amongst yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. 216, we already talked about not in conflict with the comprehensive plan. So the nuts and bolts of this is 12-323B1 and 12-328. Does this meet the requirements? This parcel meet the requirements for a Rural 10 zoning district? So let's talk, I think, first just about whether it meets Rural 10 or not, and the evidence for for or against that.
As slopes steeper than 30%. And it's all over all the parcels.
Yeah, and for me, Commissioner, I think differently from the first file that we looked at, like looking at the slope map of this property, like I would agree with you that it's characterized by slopes that are greater than 30%. Any other thoughts about that?
Yeah, agreed. I had that noted down also.
Definitely has more slopes that are over 30%. I saw some pretty nice meadows. There are definitely some steep spots that you'd have a hard time doing anything with.
My other question is just looking at the requirements for rural 10 is that it is located within critical wildlife habitat as identified by federal agencies, and it's acknowledged that the county doesn't have any identified critical wildlife habitats, but on the map is like definitely part of the property is in bull trout areas designated by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service.
And there's the David Thompson Wildlife Preserve, which, I wonder why it's even there, other than somebody, it's an Idaho law that created it. The legislature adopted it or voted on it, and the governor signed it. But I don't know enough about that to make draw any real conclusions.
Yeah, I think it was like correctly pointed out that the fact of the wildlife preserve doesn't really have anything to do with this, either being rural 10 or, but it does look like it's on bull trout habitat. What are other rural 10 standards? Doesn't contain soils, that was pointed out. The floodway, I admit, I don't fully understand the floodway situation, because it seems that, according to the staff report, there's a number of parcels that are within the mapped flood hazard zone.
That was the submerged property.
That's all the submerged.
I think the applicant mentioned that based on the setbacks, 40 feet from the shoreline.
And that's farther enough up. Okay.
That the entire property above water was out of the floodplain.
Okay, that makes sense. Limited access to public services. I think there's arguments on both sides of that. Does seem like we have at least one or maybe two reasons that it fits with R10.
I'd agree.
And then the next question is whether it meets the requirements for recreation. So the recreation standards are a range of housing types. I think that was addressed that it could meet that. Criteria provides for commercial and private resorts for a range of activities. The applicant said sounds like they don't have a concrete idea of what they are going to do with it, but that it could include these. Fits with the desired recreational character of the area and conservation development. Comprehensive plan designated resort. For me, the biggest question is the wording is not that it could be served by adequate sewage disposal water supply roads, but that it is served by. And it would seem, based on the fire department's assessment, that is not necessarily the case currently.
I know Road and Bridge did make a comment regarding long-term impacts. Also in regards to.
Referencing the unknowns, is that what?
Is it long-term impacts for the Road and Bridge comments? They're, at this moment, they do foresee long-term impacts. Peninsula and Hope Road are not capable of handling increased traffic, and the Hope Road right-of-way is less than the standard. That comes from their email, from Road and Bridge's email, or their comment.
Any other discussion about whether it fits
I think
recreational?
One of the most interesting to me and intriguing points of this file is the historical designation, I think, or intent from, I don't remember how many years, 40 years or whatever it's been since the property was designated. Was that a recreational zone, a rec zone, or? I think that's definitely worth noting again. Resort community, the entire peninsula, which seems to be a precursor in my mind to a recreational zone. So then, does the parcel in question meet the requirements of the recreational zoning district?
Since the code says served, doesn't it say
Will be,
will
or
be?
could be.
Could be. I really don't think that, I think it really makes it clear that it doesn't at this point.
I think that's the sticking point.
Yeah.
So the big hangup is on public services, facilities, utilities, that what we're talking about?
Yep, sewage district, water supply, roads, and needed public facilities and services.
Staff didn't note anything to the contrary there. Portion of the proposal is adjacent to Ellisport Bay Sewer District, which has proposed options for the applicant to be within the boundaries of the district. I saw a letter that had 3 different options on it.
That study that's included in the packet is 2018. And Panhandle responded, there's been no communication with Elsport for any changes to their system.
The other part of that staff report says the county has several locations where solid waste can be disposed of. The closest is plus or minus 5 miles away. Vista did not respond. So based on the current request to change the zone, the best that they can get is one house or a residential dwelling without too much trouble. So are we considering then this is a sticking point based on several hundred homes or what they could actually get with the rezone if approved? Which to my understanding would be, I think it was stated by the applicant, would be one residential dwelling
Yeah, I think we really need to stick to the county code when we make decisions about things rather than, because the code really doesn't talk about density and that kind of stuff in a rezone.
And the hypothetical.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, if they'd been more selected with the parcels they were trying to change the designation on, I could see arguments that those parcels meet the recreation standard.
Could you explain that?
Well, in other words, there's parcels on here that don't have that may be more suitable in terms of slopes and things of that nature. If you look at around the county where there's recreation zones, this area is a little different, but most of the county, it's in an area around the shorelines of the lake. Where the area that I live in out on Duford. Duford is sort of a dividing line. There's recreation between Duford and the lake. But the other side is, beyond that is R5 and R10, and Ag Forest for that matter. So
you're suggesting that this parcel potentially has different.
Well, it's not a parcel,
options?
it's
This proposal.
Yeah. This is.
Trying to understand what your opinion
It's
is.
a big ask is what it is.
Okay.
And it makes it difficult.
Well, I don't disagree with that.
Yeah. It's a big ask.
I gotta go to what you're saying. I like visuals, so I wanted to compare this acreage of 1,153 acres. The city of Sandpoint itself is 3,065 acres. So for me, that's kind of, I like to look at things in perspective, and like Joe
So we're
said,
half the size of-
that's a big act.
Half third of-
It's a third of the city of
third.
Sandpoint for a zone change, which is, I think, very significant. And going from an R10, it's like you're bypassing R5, you're bypassing sub, you're going right to recreational. Seems like a very large jump, especially when you've got other surrounding properties that are also R5, R10s, your ag 10s and 20s. You do have some recreational, but it's quite a mix.
Yeah, that's why it's intriguing to me that it's been for so many years set up as, or I guess in the intent there was recreational.
So they painted with a broad brush.
So then do I understand correct, are we hung up to a certain extent on this sewer? Is that what we're discussing?
The sewer is one thing and the slopes is the other.
Sewer and slopes?
Yeah, and I almost don't characterize it as served by a network of public or private roads. I mean, it's.
Private roads, I would think.
Yeah, private roads, but.
Is it public or private, is that what it says?
Yeah. So, private roads. Oh, actually, I looked at the map and there's a lot of those roads that are county maintained that are shown on there.
So really,
so-
sewer and slopes is what we're
Yep, discussing.
Slopes and fish, is that,
And,
am I
bull trout,
incorrect
yeah.
about what, like,
Now, bull
that
trout's an issue. There's an area.
it's located
zone,
within,
Would
like some
that-
of the property is, clearly.
Would that not fall under the fish and game though, to protect the bull trout with
Well, it's just the
fishing
question of,
regulations?
is the property located within a critical wildlife habitat?
And it is.
And it
is.
This,
Some
this
of it is.
proposal.
Most of it isn't.
If you go
Yeah,
verbatim
most of it
there.
isn't, but apparently.
Is there
the
some?
Parcel it is.
That is, all of this is, and this is. So most of it isn't, but some of it is.
That's why I say it's a big
I
ask.
think it fits better with R10.
And for me, one of the other things I've noticed over the last couple of years with listening to different planning and zoning, we have outside agencies and they are the subject matter experts in those areas. The planning department subject matter experts with the codes. The residents are the subject matter experts with the community they live in. Personally, what I've seen is a lot of our outside agencies, their comments are not taken to heart. And if they're supplying comments, we really need to be generally looking at those and taking those into consideration too, if they're taking the time instead of just disregarding.
Or were there any specific ones that?
Well, the road and bridge, but the fire district, which I think we already talked about.
Yeah, road and bridge and fire.
Joe
those were the two.
mentioned Panhandle for the proposed water, that the last things that they've seen from 2018, almost 10 years ago. So that's a concern. The Idaho State Historical Society, that the 3 known archaeological resources, and that they are suggesting a inventory to be conducted. I think those things at least need to be talked about, addressed, instead of
think
just swept under.
That specifically, there's nothing in the code about archaeological stuff.
That
So I
would be
think,
part of the development process.
yeah, that'd be on the development side. So I think with specific regards to zoning, we should disregard that because that's not that's not in the purview of this decision.
Did I miss anything from the Fish and Game?
I don't
think it said,
think they
was it
had-
no comment?
I think they had no comment.
Yeah.
So that's interesting on the bull trout side too.
I'm also surprised that Sheriff's Department didn't make any comment whatsoever, given the potential magnitude and the resources.
Critical wildlife habitat identified by federal, and the bull trout is a federal.
Yeah, it's not
Designation.
Idaho Fish and Game. Any further points to bring up? Would any commissioner care to make a motion to approve, deny, or continue this file? You do have to read the motion for our new commissioners when you make one.
That's on the lower end of the staff report, if anyone wants to make a motion.
That's page, starts on page 25.
Problem is, I can't see it. Okay. Motion to recommend denial. Move to recommend denial of this project to the Bonner County Board of Commissioners, file ZC 0005-25, requesting a zone change from rural 10 to rural, to recreation. Conclusion 1, it is within the elements of the Bonner County Comprehensive Plan. Conclusion 2, it was conclusion 2 is the R10, is that correct?
Title 12.
It's 12. So conclusion 2 is not found, it is not in compliance with the Bonner Title 12 of the County Revised Code. I'm sorry, conclusion 2, there's a typo on this thing.
You can read this.
Yeah. Well, no, it even has a typo in there. It should say, this one says recreation, it should say rural 10. So the conclusion 2 is the proposal was reviewed for compliance with rural 10 zoning designation and is not found to be in, or is found to be in compliance. And conclusion 3 is in accord with the purpose of the recreational zoning designation provided in Chapter 3, Title 12 of the Bonner County Code. It is not in accordance.
And then, yeah, last paragraph.
This recommendation is based on the evidence submitted up to the time of the staff report was prepared, testimony received at this hearing. Further move to adopt the reason statement as discussed in deliberation at this hearing, and the analysis is set forth in the staff report or as amended during this hearing, and direct planning staff to draft the reason statement to to reflect the motion as set forth in the Idaho Code Section 6535, have the chair sign and transmit to all interested parties. This action does not result in the taking of private property.
Okay, we have a motion. Does anyone care to second?
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussions before we vote? Okay, commission will now vote, starting from my left, please.
Commissioner Johnson, no.
Actually, you're voting yes.
Oh, so yes, to the vote, yes.
Commissioner Polson, aye.
Commissioner Laser abstain.
Commissioner Mock, yes.
Motion carries with 3 voting in favor, 1 abstention. Staff, any reminders, updates, announcements?
I do have a couple announcements and a request. I'll start with, so our next scheduled hearing is November 20th. That'll be at the same time. Hopefully, we will be back in the first floor. Right now, the elections office has the first floor conference room due to elections. So,
Alex?
Yes,
What was that date again?
November 20th.
20th, perfect, thank
Yep.
you.
So that'll segue into my next announcement. So yesterday we received notice from our hearing examiner that she's resigning. And she had a family emergency that made her move out of state for a while, so she won't be able to participate anymore. So she's put her resignation in, and that comes into my request. So I spoke with the commissioners. The only other body that can hear conditional use permits, variances, modifications is the zoning commission. So the board has requested if it would be possible, if you guys would be able to hold 2 hearings a month rather than 1. I know that's what you guys signed up for 1, and that was the understanding when you accepted your positions with the county.
I'm okay to do it on a month-to-month basis, but not on a 6-month basis.
Is
Or what
the
about
other-
every other month?
Is the other option that this meeting goes for like 6 hours?
It would mean that it could, or it would be that your guys' plate would be pretty full every month. And we would be, projects would probably take much longer to get through the hearing process. But it is a request of the board, and it is up to you guys if that is something that you're willing to do.
I don't like the month. So how, if we did it that
We
way,
pick a
we
day
just
in-
decide
another day in
this
November.
this meeting?
How much notice do you need for a meeting?
Typically around 30 days. So this probably wouldn't start until December.
Okay.
And even then, it probably, since we've got holidays coming up and everything, probably wouldn't start till January. We will be putting out a request for qualifications for a new hearing examiner very shortly. So hopefully we're not without one for a while. But for the time being, basically everything will be coming to you guys.
Well, maybe we schedule something for the first part of the second week of December, or the last part of the first Thursday of December.
I agree with you. I think we should schedule out in blocks, but not big ones. And if we have a 30-day lead time on notice, then we should probably schedule it 2-month increments.
Okay.
So we're a month ahead on those notices, so we don't cut staff on their.
Yeah. Does Thursday evenings typically work for the entire commission?
Do what we gotta do.
Thursday's fine.
And we could do, typically we do the
Thursday.
first and third.
Yeah, the first Thursday in December and January.
In addition to what we've already got going.
Third.
Okay, is the commission open to doing that?
I think that's reasonable.
Okay. So then we will start doing that. That being said, your guys' hearing in November is already packed full for,
How many files?
it's only 4.
Only 4?
Yeah, but it's an array of files. I think there's a couple variances and a conditional use permit, maybe a zone change, but you guys will really get the whole array of what you guys can hear.
Whole array of public
So,
service.
yeah, typically the hearing examiner takes the brunt of most of those things, and you guys typically do zone changes, but state statute essentially just extends your power over to the hearing examiner, and then the board decides what the hearing examiner will hear through our code.
Got it.
So, like I said, hopefully this is fairly temporary, but I will warn you that the last time we requested, last time we looked for a hearing examiner, it took about 2 years.
Right about time we'll be done.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't take that long. Hopefully we've got something
Look for some positive.
in the next few months. But I guess that's the public service announcement that we will be sending out RFQs for a hearing examiner. So if anybody in the public is interested and maybe possibly qualified for it, feel free to apply whenever that comes out.
If
you want to switch,
It's like,
gosh, you're
I
good
have
at
a
this.
planning degree, so.
You're really good at this.
That's
I'm gonna make
right
a
in your
motion.
I
wheelhouse.
love playing with the kids though at school.
We have a very well qualified commissioner here to switch over. We need you here.
Let's see. Other than that wonderful news, I don't think I have anything else for you guys. Actually, I'll need to make some edits for now, but I'll have the hearing schedule for this next year coming out. I can send it all to you guys, and then at your next meeting we can talk about it and make sure that we're all good with it. Right now it's every third Thursday, but obviously that's probably going to change to the first and third Thursdays for a while until we get a hearing examiner. And once we get a hearing examiner, then we can then we will rework that calendar.
Are you interim still?
I am
or
still the interim planning director,
any
yes.
news on that situation?
I believe that the board is going to begin to look at applications soon.
Another 2 years.
So what's the opposite of a remand?
Yeah, I'm gonna remand.
Decision? Well, no.
New woman?
Pre-man, I don't know, post-man? We want to send some stuff directly to the commissioners.
Oh, I see where you're going.
Workload management.
We want to bounce it off. I'm rubber, you're glue. We just bounce it off and send it back to them.
You guys do know we're still on the record, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's the point.
Of anything I said.
Right.
I should be.
But yeah, I don't have anything else. Yeah, I think that's all I've got. Yeah.
Will Nate be able to attend any of the meetings in the future, just so we can actually meet him face to face, those of us that haven't? Just kind of get to that, especially with him being new.
Sure. Yeah, I can add him to. I'll add him to all of our hearings, and he's added to all other public hearings as well. So I will make sure he's aware of it, and if he will be able to attend in person, if that works with his schedule. I was very thankful that he was able to come via Zoom, so thank you, Nate, for hopping on when you could. But I will invite him to the rest of the meetings and see if we can get him in person. Once we get a full board, Nate's going to hold a training with the board. I believe I gave all of those documents out to you guys for like ethics, and if I haven't, I will drop. I can drop it.
Anything.
Okay, if you haven't, then I can drop it in an email and send it off to you guys. It's basically.
It would be good because we're making decisions that we have the training, because we don't know when we're going to get another member.
Sure.
If there's something that we need to be aware of, we probably should be made aware of.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, a lot of it's kind of common sense. I believe the most senior commissioners, I should say, have already received that training. It's about ex parte communication and ethics in government and quasi judicial versus
So ex parte
quasi.
communications is one of us talking to an applicant, is that correct?
Yeah, or amongst each other.
Or each other, okay.
Yeah,
Don't talk
or,
to anybody about anything and you're good.
yeah, and I'll let Nate, whenever we get that training done, I'll let him explain that more since, better to come from the legal authority than just a regular guy like me. So, is there anything else that you guys have for me?
I think so.
Perfect.
Okay, the time is 9:15. We're adjourned until November 20.
There was a hand up, but.
We're a little casting.
Hey guys, can you hear me okay? Sorry, I know you guys want to get out of there, and I don't blame you. The question is, the voting at the very end for the final measure, were they denied or was it a yes? It was a little unclear. Sorry, I should probably.
I kind of messed that up a little bit. I didn't quite understand. Yes to deny.
Yeah, it's a recommendation. It's a recommendation to the board to deny the file, and then at a later date, the board will hear this file and make the final decision.
Who does that board consist of?
That is our Board of County Commissioners.
Okay, thank you guys. I appreciate your time.